He's the reigning Fortnite champion. She's a Call of Duty legend. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the Maggie and Perloff Show. I'm Andrew Perloff. I'm here in the main Maggie and Perloff studio, and Maggie is in the Central New York satellite station. Maggie, how you doing up there?
I'm in the hinterlands.
You're in the hinterlands.
But it's already freezing up here.
But I assume, like the rest of America, you were well rested, because I hope that not everybody stayed up to watch the 16-13 Bears victory over the Panthers, which was funny. If you watch the telecast, first of all, it seemed like neither announcer was paying attention to the game at any point. But everything was about the Panthers. There was no Bears. It was in Chicago, but the whole game felt like a referendum on Bryce Young and what the Panthers are doing. And the referendum is nothing but negative. I don't understand, Maggie. At Alabama, Bryce Young could make a play no matter what the situation was. He could always find a guy downfield. He could avoid sacks. None of that is happening in Carolina, and I feel like it's not his fault. I feel like he's put in the worst situation. When you get drafted, people think that any quarterback, a great quarterback can make something out of nothing. I think history is now showing that's not true. Bryce Young is put in the worst possible place here in Carolina, and he is doomed because of this. And now I don't know where the Panthers go, and I don't know where Bryce Young's career goes.
We need Thanksgiving dinner levels of pie to dole out blame pie for how wrong this has gone for Carolina this season. And people are going to lose their jobs, Perloff. We know how this goes in the NFL. We've been doing this long enough. And I think people might deserve to lose their jobs over this. Now, Bryce Young is not, because he's the number one overall pick. But Frank Reich could be one and done. The play calling is terrible. The protections are awful. The general manager, I mean, I know you had injuries last night, no Brian Burns and some others, but this general manager has gotten oopsie-dooped twice. First by the Jets trading away a second-round pick for Sam Darnold, and then Brian Burns held him to hostage for a contract at the very end of training camp. He trades all the way up to get Bryce Young. I don't know if anyone, if the whole team was even on board with Bryce Young being the number one overall pick. Everything about this feels rotten, and yeah, Bryce Young is the guy who has to wear it, because he's out there actually trying to make plays to nobody besides Adam Thielen, who questioned the effort last night. Everything is bad here. And listen, we could just say, flush this season if you're Bryce Young. But Bryce Young, to me, is also not really looking like somebody who is befitting of that number one overall pick. I'm not sure what his ceiling is going to be in this league. Sure, he can make a couple nice throws, but is that what we're talking about with the number one overall pick? A couple nice throws? I think that even in this very young part of his career, can't the expectations be a bit higher for Young?
I don't agree with you about the trade in the offseason, because you could say that now, but I don't think there were a lot of people saying drafting Bryce Young at number one was a mistake, because he was a Heisman Trophy winner. We all saw him at Alabama. I understand he's small. You were concerned about his health. But I think that Bryce Young in the right situation could have thrown for a lot of yards. Even last night, you saw there were plays that he can make with his feet. There's a little bit of something there. And he didn't throw a pick last night, so I think that's an improvement. Threw for 185 yards. I think it's the situation around him. I don't think evaluating Bryce Young at all is a good idea here. And I don't think it was a terrible mistake to take him number one. I know C.J. Stroud's playing really well in Houston, but it's two long careers ahead of us. People are already throwing out Bryce Young. I just would not do that, because I think he's going to start all over next year. He's going to hopefully have a coach who knows how to play to his strengths, because last night there was nothing helping him at all. They ran for 19 yards on 9 carries or something when he was not running the ball. It was terrible. By the end, they didn't even try and run the ball. They should have just gone into shotgun like he was in Alabama and basically done a 2-minute drill for the entire game, because he actually looked comfortable in that spot. He's not throwing to anybody. The offensive coordinator is on the sideline looking completely befuddled. Frank Reich looks lost. I think it's because his hat wasn't fitting or something. There was something wrong with Frank Reich last night. And you're right, the GM is definitely gone. He's made too many mistakes. So I think Bryce Young next year, it's an interesting spot, because they don't have a draft pick, so they have to stick with Bryce Young. They're not looking at Caleb Williams. Now he's going to get to start all over with a brand new coach. And I think there's enough promise there. I'm not going to go back and kill them for that trade, because I didn't kill them in the spring when they did it. It made sense. They hadn't had a quarterback in a long time. So if Bryce Young had more around him, I think he would look closer to C.J. Stroud. If C.J. Stroud was in Carolina, I think he'd be in trouble too.
CJ Stroud doesn't have this who's who of a receiving core around him. And you want to know what? CJ Stroud is still throwing the ball down the field in like an aggressive way that doesn't feel reckless.
I think that's coaching, Maggie. I don't think that's the receiving core. I think he's got a good offensive coordinator. I don't think Carolina does at all.
Oh, well, yeah, you and I are going to be in 100% agreement there. I mean, you handed over play calling responsibilities to someone nobody had ever heard of, and you've scored 3 offensive touchdowns in 3 weeks. Like, it's just, it's not that punch, I think, that people were expecting. And I'm wondering, does Frank Reich just bring the play calling duties back? Can you go back on something? Like, I hand you the play calling duties, and I'm going to take a back now, because if I were Frank, I'm probably trying to save my behind because this, or maybe he doesn't even want to, because the relationship is, reportedly, rather frayed between him and the owner.
Well, let me ask you this. Can you pull Bryce Young now? Can you just put in Andy Dalton? Because Andy Dalton obviously might not be a number 1 starter right now, but he has to give you a better chance. First of all, he's bigger. He could take more punishment. He had one really good game for them. If Frank Reich knows he's going to get fired, he has no draft pick, he might as well go all in and try and win these last few games. I would have pulled Bryce last night. Early in the game, Bryce was just getting hammered by the Bears' defensive line, which isn't even good. Why not just try anything you can to win a couple games? Because Frank Reich, I don't think, has any future in Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, Bears front better with Montez Sweat. That looks like that was, early returns on that trade were good at the deadline. But I don't know. See, now we're kind of like down the road here with Bryce, and unless he is looking totally overwhelmed, which, to be honest, like he does at times, but his poise is his thing, right? And it's always when you're in the toughest spot in the game, that's where Bryce Young does his best work. Well, you don't have the advantage right now, the advantage that Alabama enjoyed and still enjoyed, which is just you have better players than most of the teams you're playing. This isn't college anymore, It's a little more about the X's and O's and not the Jimmies and the Joes. And so it's I would say the only way you pull Bryce Young is if you really feel like he's drowning. If he's not drowning, then keep playing him for the rest of the year. Again, get these reps, get acclimated, and get the game speed stuff down. Because going to Dalton, I don't think really does a whole lot for you, even if everyone's going to get fired at the end of the year. Get Bryce you're already here, you're already down mid-season. Let him keep playing.
Yeah, you're probably right, and that's what they're going to do. Look at us trying to dress up this game. I mean, it was bad. Somebody pointed out, forget Al Michaels' lack of energy. There was a point where Kirk Herbstreit went for 17 minutes of game time without mentioning a single play that was happening on the field. The game was a bit of a distraction. You had Jason Kelsey on talking for about 20 minutes in the middle of the game. It had nothing to do with the game. It is really tough. We're already here. We're in week 9, Maggie, and we're watching Tyson Bagent and Bryce Young. Is the rest of the year going to be like this? Is there a lot of this happening in the NFL right now?
I feel like, a friend of ours, Aaron Nagler, covers the Packers, made a great point last night on social media, which is they keep advertising that, trust Amazon because they help build the schedule. And it's like, well, you gave us Bears, Carolina Panthers on a Thursday night. Maybe this isn't the time to be touting that product.
You said something before the show, Maggie, that is it a bad NFL year? Are we looking at a dud of a season?
I think there's more bad teams than ever. I mean, we're already we're at week 17 level of backup quarterback play, where teams feel like they're intentionally trying to lose. And we'll get more into that Caleb Williams sweepstakes, a little bit later. But it's like, it just feels to me like there are teams that are so woebegone. Now, to be fair, that could change. Kyler Murray's coming back this week for Arizona. Looks like Justin Fields will be back next week for Chicago. Yeah. There is some help coming.
Yeah, but the direction of quarterback health generally goes down. This is week 10, and we're seeing Tyson Bagent versus a depleted Bryce Young. By week 17, that's why I think these Panthers are going to be super dangerous. I mean, one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL. Once they get the backup quarterbacks in the back three and Frank Reich is coaching for his job, he's going to pull a Lovie Smith last year at Houston and accidentally win a game or two. So I'm not counting the Panthers out, although I think I don't like to be this guy, but fire everybody, right? Fire the GM, fire the coach, start completely over.
Yeah, and you know what? That's like the cycle that bad teams get into. because I agree. I think that everyone probably will and maybe should be fired. But, we talk about bad organizations, and I think it does start from the top down where, you are now going to, let's game theory this out. Say they do fire the general manager and the head coach. Well, now you have a new regime who's coming in who didn't draft Bryce Young. And maybe they're telling the owner, hey, I can fix him, I can do this, I can do that. But when push comes to shove and when jobs potential on the line, what's going to be the message to the owner? I didn't take this guy. I can start with another guy, and I'm going to be even better. I'm sure these are the conversations happening in, Arizona, right? It's like if they want to move on from Kyler, they can just say, hey, I didn't draft him. I didn't pay him. That was a mistake. So it feels like it's the cycle that bad teams get into, and Carolina can't get out of their own way right now. And I don't think it's fair, even if I've been critical of Bryce Young, it's not fair to lay everything at this kid's feet. That's insane. But, I don't know. I thought there was a moment last night. I don't know if you caught this at all, where they put the camera on the Panthers owner.
No, I didn't see that. David Tepper. What happened?
You know how what happens when people see themselves on TV or on the Jumbotron? It's like, hey, it's me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I don't know if he was pointing at that, but it seemed like he kind of pointed like, hey, I'm on television right now, and then started shaking his head like in this, like a very obvious display of displeasure because he knew he was on the broadcast. At least that was my read. I'm like, this dude just wants to be famous. I don't trust what's going on here at all.
I absolutely hear you, but I think you're talking about, you mentioned Kyler Murray. We can't give up on Bryce Young now. There's been a lot of bad rookie seasons that turned around. Remember, Eli Manning here in New York was just terrible his rookie year when he replaced Kurt Warner. You could go down the list way too early to start talking about a Kyler Murray situation. I actually saw enough where I said to myself, okay, Bryce Young with the right coordinator, add a couple receivers. It'd be nice, a guy like DJ Moore, who they traded away in this now looking ridiculous trade. So
again, bad franchises do stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm a big system quarterback guy, and this is absolutely 100% the system. The run plays were notably awful last night. They were poorly designed. He didn't know when to go to the run. Everything they did, the Bears seemed to know was coming. He had to thread the needle just for a 5-yard completion, let alone to move the ball downfield. But this is now I feel like we're Herbie and Al Michaels. It's just talking about this. That whole game brings you down a little bit. It's Friday, Maggie. I don't know. Maybe, I don't want this Amazon schedule anymore. I know next week is the Ravens Bengals, which is awesome. I don't want to do these games anymore. Don't make me do this, Maggie. Why are you making me watch the Bengals? The Bears and the Panthers.
Listen, don't blame me. Blame these bad teams. Guys got the number 1 overall pick sitting there, and they stink. It feels like a total and complete waste. And then on the other side, like if you listen, outside of like 3 really good throws from Bryce Young last night, like could you tell me who was the guy who was from Shepherd University and who was the guy who was the Heisman Trophy winner from Alabama? And like that's a problem. That's a problem for everyone in the Panthers organization. It's a problem for Bryce. I think why the Bears kind of skated a little bit last night and didn't get a lot of criticism, even though you could criticize the Bears totally, is, it feels like they're overachieving because of Badgett. And it feels like their future is bright. Like the Bears have these 2 top picks. Like, we don't even know the amount of possibilities and outcomes here with the Bears is kind of infinite, and we can talk about that, but there could be much, much brighter days to come with the Bears. The Panthers don't look like there's brighter days unless they hit on every single hire, every free agent signing. Like they've got so much work to do.
Oh, you're absolutely right. The Bears, Justin Fields, I don't know if he's part of their future, but he was smiling on the sidelines. Everybody was up. It was in Chicago. All right, later in the show, Maggie, you have to give me a tour of this set you got going there in a hotel room. That is, I don't mean to be mean, but that is a little drab looking at 6 a.m. Eastern in this hotel room. Yeah.
Do you understand the amount of equipment I have here sitting on the desk? I look like I'm spying on the people next door. And believe me, I do not want to know what's going on next door.
There's a framed picture behind you. I'm dying to know what's in that framed picture. You can see it on Zoom, CBS Sports Radio, YouTube. What is going on there?
Nothing. It's
What
a
is that?
picture of a sad landscape, which is also going to be the name of my memoir upcoming. It's no, I'm in my hometown of Binghamton, New York today because I had to come home for unfortunately a sad thing for one of my friends, but I'm happy to be doing the show today. This is definitely going to be the bright spot of my day. So not this hotel room. This is not the bright spot. And believe me, I'm staying at the nicest place in town.
What time does it get light in Binghamton, New York in November?
It never does. It doesn't get light.
10:30 a.m. Yeah. Don't open that curtain. There's nothing out there for you, Maggie.
It's open.
Oh, it is.
That's just what it looks like.
Have you guys seen the HBO show The Last of Us by any chance?
Yes, it was inspired by my hometown.
Yes, the Pedro Pascal post-apocalyptic journey. It kind of looks like Maggie's hotel room, just to paint a picture. Like the sets were less depressing than what you got going on right now. Sorry.
Honestly, and that's why I always say, take me out in the first wave, because I don't want to be around for the drab everything.
Yeah,
yes,
well, I
am post-apocalyptic.
You're getting a sneak peek today in your hotel room in Binghamton, New York.
I know.
This is what the end looks like.
Out yet.
Yeah.
Could have predicted that for you. 855-212-4CBS. No, I love my hometown. 855-212-4227. I save that. Okay. A lot more to do, right?
That was convincing.
Yeah. I love my hometown, ? Yeah.
Someone says, I love my in-laws.
Yeah.
Yes, my voice went up a couple octaves.
Yeah, it did.
I love it.
And your eyes looked up and to the left, which means you're lying in an FBI interview. I love my hometown.
I know I have my light on here, but it's so dark. It looks like an interrogation light. And I'm not even, why am I being interrogated? I didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, you definitely look like you're wiretapping somebody.
Yeah.
But then also being wiretapped yourself is very odd.
You're monitoring a full drug operation 2 rooms down.
Someone had to come up yesterday to help me, because some of the plugs didn't work. Shocker. And so they had to come up and give me a power strip and just goes, so what do you got going on up here?
What did you say?
I said, none of your business. No, I said I'm doing a nationally syndicated radio show. We got big things to talk about tomorrow morning.
And did they believe you? Because I don't know if this
Maggie's
looks
definitely on an FBI watch list right now.
Yeah.
I'm soon to be on a no-fly list with all of this equipment. Yeah, it's but as long as I sound good, there we go.
You sound great, and you look fine.
That sounded like
fine.
Maggie said, I love Binghamton. You look fine.
Yeah, you look adequate.
A little bright. It's a little bright.
A little bright. Maybe a little washed out. I don't know. How do I say that? Is that rude?
This is just what you look like the moment you get into town. All the pigment just leaves your face because the sun hasn't shined here. Shined. The sun has not come out in many, many years.
I would say your Zoom setup is the equivalent of the Carolina Panthers offense last night. Hopeless.
Thrown together.
Also, way more expensive than what it's producing.
Yes, technically you are on air. Technically, the Carolina Panthers are an NFL team, so that's fine. We're fine. It's good. Love my hometown.
We're all getting fired, aren't we?
Maybe the sun will come out in central New York and it'll change the look. You sound sunny, Maggie. That's all that matters.
No, once November 1st hits, we will not see sun up here until Memorial Day.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Please
builds
come back.
character, builds grit.
Meanwhile, in the break, Maggie, are you going to be listening to the wiretap, see if you can catch anybody doing anything in the rooms, three rooms down?
There's nothing interesting going on at this hotel right now.
Also, you have the coffee conundrum that you were in a mild state of panic earlier. EJ, you should have heard her voice this morning. She said, Perloff, the coffee doesn't come out till 6:30, and the elevator's so slow, I don't know if I can get down there in the middle of the show.
and I'm not on a high floor.
Wow, so she's on level 2. She's like, getting to level 1, I'm not going to make it in the 5 minutes.
There's no way I'm going to be able to find the stairs. No way I'll be able to find
And do you think that coffee's going to be good when you get down there?
No. What are you talking about? No.
That's going to be like drinking battery acid.
Oh.
It's going to be, I don't know.
No, I think you're wrong. I think it's going to be incredibly weak. It's going to be brown-colored water, basically. Sorry.
Thank you.
That's what we have to look forward to in the break, Maggie, in the 5 minutes that you're going to be in a slow elevator.
If it makes you feel better, we are thoroughly enjoying making fun of you right now.
Don't worry. I get it. I walked right into this. I'm like, as soon as they see the setup, I'm going to get just destroyed. Yes.
We'll go
Hey,
in the
everyone,
chat.
YouTube.
Yeah, the chat, they're nice.
YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio.
You have a lot of fans in there. They'll support you. Don't worry.
After this, I don't know. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, we got the flip side of this. We also have a team, believe it or not, must-win game. Must-win game for a Super Bowl contender. We'll get to that. Again, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Perloff here in our New York studio. Maggie in an undisclosed location, likely spying on somebody. We're not quite sure what's going on with Maggie. Go to CBS Sports Radio YouTube channel to see her incredible setup. So it is now 6:26 Eastern. What time is the coffee coming out, Maggie? Everyone here wants to know. Everyone in the hallway is talking about your coffee situation because right now you don't have anything going on.
No, allegedly it's 6:30 is when the coffee comes out. But I look like I'm part of an FBI sting that's like knocking over an illegal card game or something in the hotel room next door. This is bad.
Yeah, is there something? There's got to be something untoward going on in this hotel. I can just tell by looking at it. There's some illegal activity. I don't know if it's gambling, would be the place, drugs.
This would be the place to hatch some kind of harebrained scheme. I can tell you that this is the perfect setup for that.
Yeah, this feels like the scene in a Netflix documentary or crime documentary, something gone terribly awry. Okay, San Francisco 49ers. Why is it that I feel like this game against the Jaguars is not a must-win game? They're 5-3. They could lose their fourth straight game, and I still am not counting them out of the NFC by any means for a couple of reasons. Jacksonville's a very good team, and it's an out-of-conference game, and out-of-conference games just mean less in the standings. And I don't think it's a referendum on where the Niners are because Trent Williams is not back. I think a fully stocked San Francisco 49ers team is still incredibly dangerous, even if they lose another game and go to 5-4.
Listen, is it technically a must-win? No, because we're at the midway point. But I feel like internally for the 49ers, it has to feel like a must-win because this isn't about 49ers versus the Jags. This is about 49ers versus the 49ers. And how are they going to look coming out of the bye week where they've now asked Steve Wilkes, their defensive coordinator, to come from the booth down to the sideline? You could say, oh, Maggie, that's really silly. It's a change that they're making with some kind of conscious effort, some kind of conscious, reason to do it, whether it's Steve Wilkes to be, better communication with Fred Warner, whatever it is, there's a reason they feel like they need to do it. There's a reason they went out and traded for Chase Young at the trade deadline, right? There are legitimate reasons for the 49ers to try to stop this losing skid, and it's because the 49ers have to start looking like that dominant team again. I think that this win would go such a far way for them, and they've already proven that they can lose to anybody. It's not like it was the who's knocking them off. I mean, who was responsible for this 3-game losing streak. You're losing to the, Cleveland Browns, and you're losing to teams that you were favored to win these games.
Vikings, yeah. The Vikings are not a great team.
Exactly. You're giving Kirk Cousins wins in prime time? I mean, come on. The universe was upside down.
Right, so but last year, Maggie, they were 3-4 and went on a 10-game run. And I got to tell you, if Brock Purdy had been healthy for that NFC title game, it might have been a different result. We saw last year. They came out of nowhere. They traded for McCaffrey, came out of nowhere, caught fire. Why couldn't that happen this year?
It could, Perloff, but dealing with a different kind of vibe to a season. As soon as McCaffrey came in, actually not McCaffrey, as soon as Brock Purdy came in last year, it was almost like house money the rest of the way. And now it's different. Now this is a team that after a 5-0 start really looked like they were the juggernaut, the most balanced team in the NFL. And I think if they lose 4 in a row, it's almost like, well, what were we watching at the beginning of the season, and why can't they get that back? Because you're not going to have another big significant change. Like, no, what else is going to happen that's going to turn this around? Last year, they did have a big change.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy came in and was a lot better than people thought. They rallied around him and his point guard skills to get the ball out, and they traded for McCaffrey at the deadline. What's happening now?
Well,
If this doesn't look
Debo's
good
coming back,
out
and
the bye,
Debo's coming back, and Trent Williams is coming back. That's a significant change in my mind. Honestly, one thing that, if as an Eagles fan, the one thing I look at the Niners, their biggest weakness, I don't trust their kicker at all, who cost them one of these games. I know they drafted him, but I think their team, when they're fully healthy, which is, again, a stretch, because we know the Niners tend to get hurt. If you bring them all out by the end of the season, I don't even think it would matter. As long as they're in the playoffs, they're going to be incredibly dangerous. Do you want to see this team? Who would want to play them?
no, nobody would. But, I mean, banking on the fact that you're going to be fully healthy by the end of the season, that's like winging a prayer hope stuff. That's not a strategy,
Well, listen, the Eagles are the number one seed in the NFC, and their quarterback is limping already halfway through the season, and I think nothing has been proven. This is a fluky year. I think anything could happen. Okay, let's go to Andrew Bogusch is in the house. Bogusch, you have any jokes you want to make about Maggie's setup? Because I think we're all in today.
Just thoughts and prayers. I hope that we see her on Monday, that she gets out of the room, out of the hotel.
Yeah, it does have a hostage feel as well. That's
right. Blink twice if the door is barred from the outside.
Yeah.
Got a lot of people very interested in what I'm doing up here, and you guys are not making it any better. There's not much. Oh, can I tell you something cool, though, that happened? Or should I save this for later?
Now I have to know.
Well,
what do you got?
Tell us now in case you don't. There is no later.
Thank you, folks. The talk of the town. Can I tell you what the talk of the town is up here in Binghamton, New York? Talk of the town is that the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree is from Binghamton.
Whoa.
They cut it out of the ground yesterday, put it on a flatbed truck, and it's on its way to New York City right now. So everyone's I'm going to tell you, no fewer than 5 different people brought that up to me independently of each other.
So the city is bragging about a tree. That's what you got going?
Yes.
Okay.
A big tree. Big.
That changes things.
Yeah. All right. So does that mean you're going to tune in for the Mariah Carey night now because it's a Binghamton tree?
I feel like it's basically me up there. I mean, it's all of us. That's our tree up there.
You finally made it, Maggie.
Wow.
Thank you, Bogusch.
Now, people are also asking in the chat, do people know who you are there? Are you a celebrity? You must be.
Well, I'm from a small town, so I generally know people wherever I go anyway. But no, if you're asking me if the other nice ladies who are here for the scrapbook convention, real thing that's happening in the lobby, no, they did not. They did not, but I'm going to try to turn them into fans of the show before I leave.
Awesome. All right, Bogues, what do you got?
This is in the same state that we're in, by the way.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Because someone had to, the Bears and Panthers met in Carolina on Thursday Night Football. Or Chicago. Where was that game? It doesn't matter. If you smartly had your attention elsewhere, the Bears scored more points.
Second down and goal at the 4-yard line. Bajan with a back to his right. Mooney in motion. He hands off. Foreman twisting, diving into the end zone for the touchdown. Touchdown. Bears have the lead.
Jeff Joniak on Bears Radio. Chicago led at that point 16-10 late third quarter. Eddie Pinheiro hit one field goal for Carolina, but missed from 59 with 1:40 left. So the Bears got the win 16-13. Matt Eberflus pumped for win number 3.
Happy for the guys in the locker room. They are excited to win this game. Go 2-0 on Thursday night. That was a big emphasis this week. And the guys did a nice job with the course of the game.
Matt Eberflus at the out of halftime interview said he had a trick up his sleeve. Now, I never saw the trick. He smiled and told did you guys see that? So what was the trick? The trick was we're going to sort of kill the clock and beat this terrible team?
The trick is we didn't even know it happened. That's how tricky it was.
They didn't run a trick play. There was no fake punt. I was waiting the whole... Ooh. I don't know.
Right?
I don't know about Matt Eberflus. I have to be honest. He's not exactly electric.
I feel like someone from Amazon paid him to say that just to keep fans in the
product placement.
Half.
Yeah.
It's like, by the way, would you like to start your Christmas shopping early? And we might run a trick play.
The trick up his
onside kick.
Yeah, the trick up his sleeve was a Rings of Power commercial coming halfway through the third quarter. It had nothing to do with football. There might be
It's like,
something
here's
up our
the-
sleeve. Stay tuned.
Here's the trick. I'm going to burn all my timeouts, and we're going to go for a desperate now. They didn't need it.
Promo code Eberflus at Amazon.com. The win, by the way, significant for the Bears because it drops the Panthers to 1-8, getting them closer to the number one pick, which Chicago gets. Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson said yesterday he will not come back from his hamstring injury until it's 100%, a sentiment that the team shares. The 3-week window for Jefferson to return from IR opened this week. There was college football last night as well.
Grindo remains in as the running back, 2 receivers to the wide left side for Plummer, who sticks it in the belly of Grindo, streaks in, Grindo free, Grindo to the 40, 30, they won't catch him, Grindo, touchdown Cardinals, it's 73 yards.
That's from Learfield, and that's how number 11 Louisville finally beat Virginia last night, 31-24. The Cardinals down 10 in the fourth, but the story from this game is UVA running back Paris Jones, the latest to get hurt on a horrible helmet-to-helmet hit. Jones taken off the field on a stretcher, completely immobilized late third quarter. He regained movement in all extremities by the time he was at the hospital. He remained there overnight. Texas QB Quinn Ewers is back tomorrow against TCU, so he ends up missing just 2 games with that shoulder sprain. Men's college hoops, 4th-ranked Michigan State beat Southern Indiana last night, 74-51, after losing its opener to James Madison. You look confused by Southern Indiana, Perloff.
Oh, yeah. Is that where Larry Bird went?
No, that's Indiana State.
Okay.
This is not Southern Illinois either. This is a Year 2 Division I program.
Are you going to mention the James Madison game later on, Bogus? Are you guys following James Madison U Sports?
Very much, yeah, because I saw multiple games of theirs when they were an FCS powerhouse. And the fact that they are now thinking about being an FBS powerhouse in less than 2 years is pretty ridiculous.
Yes, so James Madison, was asking the NCAA to let them play in a bowl. Then they had the craziest college basketball game of all time last night, is what people are saying. Of course, I didn't watch a second of it. I don't even know where to find it. But you mentioned James Madison beat Michigan State. It is James Madison's moment in the sun. Sorry, I don't mean to call you out for not having the James Madison result.
Well, they didn't beat Michigan State again last night.
I think it was like Kent State.
Yeah, that's the problem. JMU Kent State isn't on the radar.
All right, fine.
At least for 6:30.
I mean, that's what they're talking about in Binghamton, New York right now.
And scrapbooks. Put that in a scrapbook.
I wonder if anyone from here would be able to find James Madison on a map, because I'm from here and I can't. So I don't.
Wait.
I think it's in Virginia, but no, it's great for James Madison. I love this story. I don't really understand the rule about keeping them not bowl eligible, because I don't understand who it really protects. Like, clearly, if you're good enough to win all these games, you're good enough to go to a bowl, and it's a great story. So I just don't understand it.
Yeah, and these bowl games aren't that great anyway. Most of them are throwaway games. I think this show has to get behind James Madison, and James Madison basketball is now a thing too.
Yeah, and I think the transition for basketball teams is even longer than 2 years. And Maggie's right. If a team coming up from a lower level is automatically better than you pre-established on the D1 level, that's your fault, not their fault. So I don't know why we're holding them back for so long.
Yeah.
Well, the other part, too, is like I could see maybe for football, do they think it's like a safety issue that guys would be getting?
No, because you play the games.
I'm watching Tyson Bagent win on Thursday Night Football, and he came from a Division II. So I don't think it's that big of a deal to just, let him play in the bowl. So silly.
I think the rule is designed to protect the teams already in Division I, because otherwise they play a full schedule, they play whomever they want. So it's not like they're protecting these tiny Division II or FCS players from big boys. I think it's just the fact that they think that if you're already in D1, you can't be bothered by these scrappy teams coming up to beat you.
Absolutely. What is James Madison's nickname? Someone said it the other day.
The Dukes.
The Dukes.
The Dukes.
Yeah.
Like the British royalty Duke? Is that what that means?
I mean, that would be very contradictory to James Madison.
Right.
Yeah.
Because wasn't he like a
He's
revolutionary?
Founding father.
Yeah.
So what does it mean? Is it a reference to the mayonnaise? Help me out here.
I don't think it's the mayo either. And I think their mascot is a bulldog type thing. So they're all I can't give you why they're called the Dukes, but it's not to honor England at James Madison.
All right, prove me wrong. What do you come up with a better explanation than that? Okay.
Like the American Revolution proves you wrong. that they wouldn't name JMU after English royalty.
According to the very trusty Wikipedia,
Here we go.
It's the name Dukes is derived from Samuel Page Duke, the university's second president.
See?
Oh, there you go. Well, okay.
And what stadium do they play in at JMU?
Duke's Stadium? I don't know.
No, Duke
wow.
University Stadium.
Manny, the stadium savant, did not know where James Madison played. So, okay, I didn't know
And
it
he's
was...
like, they play at Cameron Indoor.
Yeah. I didn't know it was...
Wait a minute, wrong Duke.
Sam Dukes. Okay, I was supposed to know that?
No. But you're supposed to know that they wouldn't name their team after English royalty.
Well, America names all the cities after England. It's not that bad of a stretch.
Well, we at least put like new in front of it. Like New York.
I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking of the play Hamilton and James Madison's disdain for British royalty.
You know the James Madison people have to be incensed that they don't have a Broadway show. I mean, all of these other founding fathers, like, get off your asses. Why didn't you guys have Lin-Manuel Miranda singing and dancing, and you would have been the, like, number one founding father outside of George Washington?
That's because there's not a single thing about James Madison's life that is inspiring, even in the slightest bit. And he's about 5'2". He was not one of our great founding fathers. Sorry, I'm throwing it out there. I know it's a hot take on a Friday.
Well, the show just changed.
Are you trying to get us canceled? Sheesh.
James Madison? Nobody likes James Madison. He's got to be the least popular.
I know nothing about this
founding
man.
father.
Absolutely nothing.
By the way, it's Bridgeforth Stadium, obviously.
In hour 3, when we do our founding fathers ranking, James Madison's at it. I mean,
Isn't that what Mount Rushmore actually is? Isn't that the ranking?
Yeah, they kind of did the work for us already.
Yeah, it's
They
literally
did it.
set in stone.
But the problem is you can't update Mount Rushmore.
That's the point. That's how confident they were in their choices back then.
Maggie, you got to get back. Bogus and I are not getting along. It's like oil and water without you here to negotiate this.
I can't wait for your road trip.
Oh, it's so happening too. Giannis had 54 last night, speaking of the NBA, but the Bucks lost in Indy 126-124. The Hawks topped the Magic 120-119 in a game sneakily played in Mexico City. Trae Young scored 41 with 8 assists. And hockey last night, what a night for Perloff's favorite hockey player.
There's Foligno into the Lightning zone, put it in front, Bedard with a backhand, and he scores! Connor Bedard with his second goal of the game and his 7th on the season. Set up by Foligno. And it's now 4-2 Hawks with 7 seconds left in period number 1.
See, we're friends. I'm playing highlights of your favorite player. That's John Weideman, Chicago Radio. Connor Bedard, his first career multi-point game. 2 goals, 2 assists, and a 5-3 win in Tampa Bay.
He's legitimately on fire right now, right? This is a thing.
Sounds like it.
I had talked about how he's one of the coolest young athletes yesterday. I didn't really know what I was talking about, but then I'm seeing all these highlights. He's actually delivering.
So you made this statement yesterday, then did the research?
I'm not a diehard hockey fan, but I can tell when I like buzz, and there is buzz around this kid.
This made it sound like Connor Bedard was his most controversial pick when Amon-Ra St. Brown was the one that turned heads.
Yeah, we were doing coolest athlete yesterday, Bogus.
Mm-hmm.
You were out, and I said Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I feel really good about that. I got a lot of support. Amon-Ra St. Brown is an incredibly cool NFL player.
But would he be less cool if his name was just like John Brown?
Yes.
Okay.
If he was John Brown, former Ravens receiver,
right.
Yes. Okay. No. But his name is Amon-Ra. He's named after an Egyptian god. Isn't that cool?
It is.
Puka Nacua was apparently also on the honorable mention list for Perloff.
Who was?
Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua is so cool. He's Hawaiian. I mean, what do you want here?
So is Marcus Mariota.
But Shane Victorino on that list now, too.
Actually, I better fact check that. I know he went to BYU. All right. Anyway.
I'm done.
Yeah.
It's back to you whenever you want it.
No, he's definitely not from Hawaii. I apologize for that.
He's from Peoria, Illinois.
Oh, Jesus.
And you guys are making fun of my hotel room. Meanwhile, it's melting down back at headquarters.
He's from Provo, Utah, by the way. Sorry. Didn't see that coming.
Clearly.
Amazing. Oh, where else can you get this kind of factually accurate information? Nowhere else but the Maggie and Perloff Show. A lot more to do, including the latest twist and turn from the sign-stealing scandal in Michigan. Finally, a big-time college coach goes on the record shredding Jim Harbaugh. So we will get to that in just a moment. You're going to hear the sound. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We're back on Maggie and Perloff. If you go to CBS Sports Radio YouTube page, you can see Maggie's lovely remote setup. You look great now. The sun is out. You're waking up in upstate New York. It is. I can hear the birds chirping. It's lovely. The chat is now debating where James Madison ranks among the founding fathers and have teams scouted Brock Purdy. So it's a wide range of things here, but you can join the YouTube page. It's an interesting day. It's Friday. It feels like a news dump is coming in college football with Michigan, Maggie. What do you think?
Yeah, we have not gotten the response to the response, if you will. So Michigan putting their response out, how they think it would be, inappropriate for any kind of penalty to come down on Jim Harbaugh, the program, until the full investigation is done. But it's funny because while that seems actually quite reasonable, even people who are staunchly against Michigan in the sign-stealing scandal could understand why they would want to let the investigation play out. Yet, from all the reporting that we're hearing, there is this groundswell to do something to penalize at least Jim Harbaugh in season. And I think a lot of it has to do with the coaches behind the scenes. Now, Britt Baker, who is the head coach of Illinois, is one of the first to really come out on the record, Perloff, and blast Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. Here's what he had to say.
If something was going on off campus, like it's been noted, right, that they were at our games before we played that game last year, that opens up a whole, that's sickening. It's disgusting, right? But I'll let them figure that part out. And I think as coaches, we just got to hold the integrity of the league. Just everybody's got to feel that everybody's playing by the same rules and kind of go forward from there.
That's funny. Former Patriots assistant Britt Baker talking about the integrity of the game and sign stealing. Even that quote, I mean, come on, coaches. Do college football coaches, are they the ones who should be calling out Michigan? I know you and I disagree on this a little bit. I think they're all dirty, and it's a very, very slippery slope. Like Britt Baker's never broken rules.
Okay, but that's not what's on trial right now. Britt Baker's not on trial right now. Just
but it's hypocrisy. It's total hypocrisy.
Well, but I can't bring you this. Yes, he worked for the Patriots, but I don't know if he knew anything about Spygate. I can't bring you a scandal with Britt Baker off the top of my head. Now, why I think he's upset is because Michigan beat Illinois last year 19-17. That was an extremely tight game and could have easily been a loss for Michigan. So I see why Bielema's in his feelings.
If anything, that proves to me the sign stealing wasn't working and was ineffective, because how can you only beat Illinois in 19-17 in that case? Honestly, actually, Illinois is kind of spicy. I don't think coaches really are should be in charge of this. Should be the NCAA and the Big Ten. Obviously, Big Ten coaches are going to want Michigan to be penalized. They want to beat Michigan. You think Ohio State wants Jim Harbaugh on the sideline? They are totally biased here. I don't think they should have any say in this.
No, but they're the only ones who can really push this thing, because if anyone knows how slow the NCAA moves with these investigations, it's the coaches. They get it. A lot of times they benefit from it, but they know that unless they make a big stink about this to the Big Ten commissioner, who's new on the job, by the way.
Right.
I think that's a big part of this, too. If this is somebody, and Tony Petitti, excellent television executive, MLB Network, a long distinguished career, but if maybe the coaches feel like, okay, we've got some fresh meat, maybe we can, sway him to do something maybe unprecedented. I mean, how often do we invoke the sportsmanship clause? There's bylaws. Right. I didn't even know that existed in any document related to college football.
Well, that's the issue. Tony Petitti needs time. To rush him into a decision here would be a huge mistake, especially with a national title on the line. And Tony Petitti is a TV guy. You don't think that would hurt TV ratings to kick Michigan out of the Big Ten title game or anything like that, or not have Harbaugh there? I don't think they want that to be the story. They're having this amazing year with 2, maybe 3 great teams, if you include Penn State. I don't want to ruin it with a suspension here, Maggie.
No, I think, though, maybe suspending Harbaugh for the Maryland game, little slap on the wrist.
All right. Coming up, we are going to break down the toughest division in the AFC. It's an impossible conundrum that Maggie and Perloff are going to solve. Come right back. Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's a violin prodigy. Her full name is Maggie the Stallion. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Ooh la la, are we
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Perloff here in our New York studio. Maggie at her secret disclosed location somewhere upstate. Maggie, how you doing? Is anyone knocking on your door asking you to be quiet?
No, not yet. Actually, the hotel's starting to buzz. I did go downstairs to get some coffee. You are absolutely correct. It is flavored water. I don't remember growing up here. I don't remember the coffee being particularly bad, so I'm going to have to fix this somehow. I don't know how. I'm going to have to start brewing the beans or something. I'm not sure.
Well, one thing that is good, you didn't have to stay up too late thinking about that Panthers-Bears game last night. The Bears beat the Panthers 16-13 at home. The most exciting part of the game on Amazon to me was the tease for next week's game, which is Cincinnati at Baltimore, because the funny thing about the way the NFL came down this year is that we have 4 playoff-worthy teams in one division, the AFC North. I think everybody can pretty much agree with that. Remember last year we thought the AFC West might have 4 teams? It's never been done, but there are 4 really quality teams here. EJ, do we have John Harbaugh talking about the strength of the division?
I think it's really, really awesome that we have such a great division, and I'd really be disappointed if we didn't. You know, it'd be just terrible if everybody was not a good team in our division. So, you know, that's my best answer. You know, hey, we respect these teams. It's a great division. I mean, there's no doubt. It's the best division. It's proven. We know the teams. You know, these teams are real.
Okay, so Cleveland plays at Baltimore this week. Maggie, if you had to choose one of the 4 AFC North teams to drop out of the playoff picture, which way do you go?
I think it has to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, I believe in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've bet on the Pittsburgh Steelers a lot. I know they're your Super Bowl pick.
I know.
But here's the thing about the Steelers. It's weird because they have a negative point differential. Crazy. They have a winning record, but a negative point differential, so it feels a little unsustainable. However, they're 2-0 in the division. So if you look at it, they've won the games that they've needed to win with that 2-0 division record. Meanwhile, Cincinnati hasn't won a game yet in the division. The Browns are 1-2, and then obviously of the Ravens sitting at the top of the pack at 2-1. I mean, Ravens are 7-2 right now, Perloff. I think that they are, you know, the lock. If you want to look at models and, you know, nerdy websites that do this for a living, they'll all tell you that the Ravens are basically a lock to win this division. And the way Cincinnati's playing, I mean, it's one of the 10 commandments on our show, thou shalt not bet against Joe Burrow, even though we break it all the time and look like idiots. And then I'm such a believer in this Cleveland defense. I don't know how the Pittsburgh offense overcomes some of their I guess woes would be the way to do it. And I think they're the ones ultimately who get left out.
First of all, I resent that you call them nerdy websites. I just call them interesting websites. But I understand what you're saying.
Yes, Perloff calls them his
I call
homepage.
them my websites. I call them bookmarked websites. Do people still bookmark websites? But I think it's Cleveland who falls out. Because first of all, they go to Baltimore this week, which is a really tough place to play this year. They could fall to 5-4, where Pittsburgh's schedule is much easier. Remaining strength of schedule around the NFL, the Browns have the 9th hardest schedule for the rest of the season, and Pittsburgh's all the way down to 22. They have a relatively easy schedule, and it's really not even about that. It's about coaching. I trust Mike Tomlin, especially second half of the season. Mike Tomlin, I know it doesn't look pretty, and I know it doesn't make sense. Kenny Pickett does not look good. That offense with Matt Canada as offensive coordinator is totally inconsistent and unreliable. But Mike Tomlin is a better coach than Kevin Stefanski. And I don't even hate Kevin Stefanski. I don't hate Kevin Stefanski, but the Steelers, they have this philosophy this year, keep the game close, and then we'll find a way to make plays at the end. I think their defense is just as stout as Cleveland's because Cleveland has Myles Garrett, but Pittsburgh has TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith. So I think they can make as many plays. Cleveland's defense on the road, metrics-wise, is not as strong. I think they're the one team that falls out. With the slight concern, if Deshaun Watson plays like he did last week, again, against Arizona, so it doesn't really count, then maybe they surprise me. But I think the 3 playoff teams there are, like you, Baltimore for sure, Cincinnati most likely, and I think Pittsburgh finds a way in and Cleveland falls out.
Well, listen, I mean, if we're going to go on reputation and history and all of that, of course you'd have to hand it to the Steelers. Like, they're the competent organization where the Browns are the incompetent organization historically. And the Deshaun Watson trade, looks like an unmitigated disaster so far on variety of levels. Listen, I hate doing this because, again, I like betting with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett always seems to find a way. I just don't know if a little of that pixie dust is going to run out. You can't just keep doing this and thinking you're going to be able to pull out these games. And meanwhile, maybe I'm a sucker. I probably am. But, could at any moment Deshaun Watson find himself again and all of a sudden we do see that guy that we saw in Houston? I don't know if that dude's ever coming back. But I know what Kenny Pickett is, and I feel like I'm seeing what he is. And that's fine because it does end up winning games for them. But, you're really playing with your food. And, the coaching obviously goes to Mike Tomlin. But I do love a Jim Schwartz defense, Perloff, and you're seeing that right now in Cleveland.
All right, that's what we always say about Maggie. She loves her some Jim Schwartz defense.
I do love a Jim Schwartz defense. Jim Schwartz head coach, not so much.
Yeah, those nerdy websites have a lot of metrics about luck. And basically, the Steelers have lucked into several wins. Now, I understand that argument, but I don't think it's luck when you're the Steelers. It seems like there's something by design. They know if they can keep the game close that eventually TJ Watt's going to make a play. This week, they host Green Bay, and it's actually a very close spread. It's only 3.5, which means that Vegas is basically evaluating Pittsburgh and Green Bay as the same team, and Green Bay is not very good. But it's a minor thing, but they could jump out to a game lead over Cleveland. Then Cleveland's going to have to face a lot of Baltimore, a lot of Cincinnati. I think it's going to be very narrow. I just think Cleveland's schedule is tougher, and that's the bottom line here. And that number you said, 2-0 already against the division. This division, it doesn't matter. Baltimore looks great. We all maybe the best looking team in the NFL. All that does not matter. When they play another AFC North team, it's going to be a dogfight because they all know each other so well. So as good as they are, those games are going to come down to the last minute. I think Pittsburgh is the best final minute team, and Kenny Pickett has a little bit of magic there. I feel good. I don't feel great about them as my Super Bowl pick. I'm going to be honest. Do you think I have any breath of life there? If they make the playoffs, can they make a run?
Because
I take a mulligan. If you want to give me a mulligan, I'll take it, Maggie.
Does Kenny Pickett look like a Super Bowl winning quarterback right now? But here's the guy who he gets most comped to is who? Eli Manning, who was the ultimate kind of boom or bust quarterback in those big moments. Eli Manning has 2 incredible runs to the Super Bowl and has never won a playoff game outside of those 2 runs. I could see where Kenny Pickett, you can squint and maybe see the Eli Manning thing. I'm not the first person to say that.
Wow, it's funny. I've never heard that one. So Kenny Pickett's comp is Eli Manning. In what sense? Just that they're kind of average until the end of the game?
Horseshoe out of the nether regions and just finds ways to win at times when you think they're completely dead in the water. I see a little bit.
I think one big difference. Eli Manning, I'm looking at his combine measurements, Maggie. 9 1/4 inches hands. So, I think you need to do Tony Romo because he was the famous small-handed quarterback before Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, I know. He's got those little elfin hands.
Yeah, you reject the small hand argument with Kenny Pickett, but I still think it's a factor.
I feel like it's erroneous.
Is there any question about with the Steelers? They're the only team in NFL history to be outgained in every game of their first 8 games and still have a winning record. Is this sustainable? I know Perloff talked about them kind of lucking into a lot of these wins. That just seems incredible. I don't know. I know that their schedule gets a lot easier down the stretch, but that just doesn't feel like a sustainable way to win football games once you get to December and late November here.
Right, but if they beat Green Bay, they're 6-3 with a fairly light schedule coming on. 6-3 is a great position to get into the playoffs, especially if you're a quality team with a quality coach. I think in this case, yes, I do think it's sustainable. Because that's how they want to win. They want to get into a dogfight. They want to, what's the expression, fight in a toll booth, in a phone booth? Not a toll booth. That'd be The Godfather. But they wanted to stay as close and ugly as they can this year. And they have the right offensive coordinator for that because they are not blowing out anybody with Matt Canada.
No, this is just amazing to me that the point differential in this division, speaking of stats, EJ, that may not tell the whole story, or maybe they do, if you're a big Steeler fan, the Ravens are plus 115 in point differential, and the Steelers are in second place in the division, and they're minus 30.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like I can see though what you're talking about. Like, I don't think it's sustainable, which is why I think they're going to be the team that's outside looking in. However, maybe to EJ's point or to your point, Perloff, if you can weather that storm, and if you can still have a winning record despite all these terrible metrics, maybe you've put yourself in a good spot.
Well, if you're going to give me a mulligan on my Super Bowl pick, I would feel very comfortable with two other AFC North teams instead of the Steelers. I think you have to look at the Ravens and the Bengals as potential teams to challenge the Chiefs in the AFC. You pick the Jaguars, who are also a dangerous team, a very good team. But it looks like to me, it looks like the Ravens, Chiefs, and Bengals are the three elite teams right now.
So my thought process behind taking the Jaguars when I picked my Super Bowl pick out of the AFC was I thought everyone's going to beat each other up in the AFC, and the Jags are going to sort of cruise to the number one overall pick. They're going to get the bye, which we know helps teams because only one team gets a bye. Remember, we're in a new world now with NFL playoffs, and I thought that would help them bye, home field advantage, all of that stuff, and it would just make sense, and then they could go to the Super Bowl. And I kind of still feel that way. Now, the Ravens are, definitely making me think a little bit differently, but I still got to hold tight to that. I do not think the best record is coming from the AFC North.
No, you're absolutely right.
The best record in the AFC. Yeah.
No, that's really good logic, except that you're breaking a show rule, and you're breaking a show rule.
I know.
You're betting against Joe Burrow. And if it comes down to, it could easily come down to a second-round matchup, Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence. Oh, it'd be a great game. You can't bet against Joe Burrow in that situation because we've seen it. We haven't seen it from Trevor Lawrence, and we haven't seen it from Lamar Jackson. I know he's playing unbelievably. I know the team is killing people. I would almost pick the Bengals over the Ravens. If you did give me this mulligan, I'd go the Bengals because the Ravens have killed it in the regulars. We've seen a 7-2 Ravens team before. Why is this different?
Well, it's different because of Todd Monken, and the offense is different. I mean, I don't know. I can't promise you health. Nobody can predict that, but that's the same for every team. The Ravens do look different. Now, the defense is always the same. It's great. The reason why they lost to Pittsburgh earlier in the season is because I think they had like 6 or 7 drops in that game. I mean, that was not Lamar's fault at all, and the offense was still trying to gel, and now you can see what's happening under this new offensive coordinator. I mean, it's pretty special. That's the difference.
But is it really that different? Are they really lighting up the airwaves with the passing game? I don't know. It feels like a lot of Lamar Jackson running to me. I'm still not totally sold. I think I understand the storyline, and he's leading the league in completion percentage at 71%, but he's not throwing for that many yards. They still rely on him to run. That seems like their best weapon.
Well, but to totally neuter the run from Lamar Jackson would be stupid. It's like that's not what you want. You don't all of a sudden want him to look like, Matthew Stafford. Like, that's just not going to be his game. I was just thinking about anyone off the top of my head who doesn't run. But, like, that's not his game. So I think they've done a good job of basically doing both. And I feel like it's fewer Lamar running for his life kind of plays and more designed runs when he actually is running.
And I do know that while the offense has shown, glimpses of really kind of breaking through, I don't think we're talking enough about how this Baltimore Ravens defense this year is different than even recent years. I mean, Benjamin Solak had to tweet, last week, 2023 Bengals defense is allowing a touchdown on only 8.7% of opposing drives. That's the best since the 2000 Ravens in terms of the amount of touchdowns they're giving up over the course of games. Yeah. I mean, they are just smothering people. And I think that if we're talking about having to play against a Burrow, having to play against a Mahomes, what we've seen is when Lou Anarumo of Cincinnati, he's been able to kind of, stifle that Chiefs offense, or the way the Chiefs were able to shut down the Bengals offense last year in the second half. That Ravens defense would scare me. I would not want to see them in the postseason.
Yeah, but how do we know it's not a measure of their competition? I know they played Detroit and Seattle, but those
two of the best things they played were their best games.
Yeah, that was in Baltimore against an NFC team who didn't really. And Detroit kind of held some of their players back. They were going into a bye. I do think we got to see them do it against a healthy Joe Burrow. They had an injured Joe Burrow in week 2 and let up 24 points. I've just seen this movie with Baltimore before. I'm on the bandwagon. They are great. They're so much fun this year. But what is different? What is different than the MVP year for Lamar Jackson? They didn't do anything in the playoffs that year, so I count me skeptical.
I mean, you say that, like, when we say that they took care of two division leaders, I know it was at home, but if they keep playing like this, they're going to have a playoff game at home. I mean, they beat them with a combined score of 75-9.
Yeah.
That wasn't like eking out a win here and there. It was like thorough pillar-to-post domination.
Right, but that's not Cincinnati, and that's not even Pittsburgh. We'll see how they do in these. It's going to be really, as you said, it's going to be really hard to get the number one seed here because they're going to drop some of these games against their divisional foes.
I'd love to know and hear from our audience at 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. I know we're on in Steelers country. I know we're on in Browns country and Bengals country, Baltimore as well. Who do you think is going to be the AFC North team that is left out? Because right now, again, according to the nerdy websites that Perloff loves / contributes to, really only a less than 7% chance that they're all going to make it.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. Yeah.
They would all have to be basically 3-3 in the division. But if you want to give me a 2.5-hour PFF podcast on the good throw percentage of Kenny Pickett, I'm totally in.
That sounds riveting.
It is riveting.
Yeah. It sounds like Sports Talk Radio, the homework edition.
Yeah.
Thank you for making us do work.
I am an analytic nerd. I do believe the numbers tell the story. They don't with Pittsburgh. It's Mike Tomlin. There's some magic. How does he have a winning record every year? Last year, the team stunk, and somehow he came out of nowhere to fix it. I'm telling you, second half Mike Tomlin will defy all these numbers.
I know. I say that the Steelers are going to miss the playoffs, and meanwhile, I'm probably going to be betting on them again this weekend against Green Bay. We'll get into our picks later on in the show. Of course, it's a Friday, which means our celebrity NFL game picker will be joining us, and we think you guys are going to absolutely love another woman. How about that? We have a lot of chick sports fans. Last week we had a comedian. We had Julia Landauer, our NASCAR driver. We had Yaojung Summers last weekend. Julia. Now we get another woman today. Look at that.
Yeah, look at us. Have you been keeping track of the celebrities? I feel like we've lost. Is Rob Corddry still winning? Or
yes, he is. Rob Corddry is still winning. Improbably, because I think he was our second week.
Yes, but he's a football maniac. He has 14 fantasy teams, and I feel like he was listening to the same nerdy podcast as me when he made his predictions, whereas some of the other celebrities have been more biased. Pretty much every celebrity picks their hometown team to win and cover.
Yeah, I mean, are they really that much different than us? Coming up, Deion Sanders, another amazing quote from Deion. He continues to deliver. This one talking about what he likes to see out of his own team, and it is not your average answer. We'll tell you that next. It's a little more like a hockey answer than a football answer. We get to that. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, you can stream the NFL on Westwood One for free, sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. We are trying to solve the AFC North, the unsolvable division. Who gets left out of the playoffs? Calls 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So statistically, there is a possibility that all four teams make it, Maggie. No one's ever done it before. I think there are four quality teams here, but we both agree someone's going to get left out, right?
Well, the probability is like less than 7%.
Okay.
But I mean, if it's ever going to happen, it feels like this season. Let's hit the phones. 855, as Perloff said, 212-4CBS. We got Mark in Ohio. Good morning, Mark. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys? Hey,
fantastic.
I called before the season started, and I told y'all that every team in the AFC North would make it, and I'm sticking by that. And I got a lot of reasons for it. The AFC North is playing the AFC South, so that's helping us in a lot of ways. And that means the West and the East are playing each other, so that helps on top of that, where those two divisions who have the better teams, that might be wild card teams, are they're knocking each other out. When you say the AFC North is knocking itself out, they're knocking each other out. I mean, if you look at the teams who might be able to knock one of the AFC North teams off, you're looking at like maybe the Texans, maybe the Chargers, maybe the Bills or the Jets. I mean, the Bills lost to the Jets, and I'm sorry, Maggie, I know you're a Bills
but the
fan.
Steelers lost to the Texans. So
the Texans are a real surprise. I mean, they lost to the Niners in week 1, and the Texans surprised them.
It's a fair point,
Their defense,
Mark.
Their defense is. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think it's a fair point that you kind of say, well, the division is so tough that this division always beats up on itself. Yet at the same time, their competition, they're kind of luckied out that they do get to play weaker divisions in terms of the AFC South. So maybe it's a little balancing act, Perloff. And Mark, thank you for the call.
Well, it's funny. He does bring up a good point. Your Bills are waiting in some dangerous territory at 5-4. The Chargers have a sneaky easy schedule too. I don't buy what Mark's saying. I like his point. I give him a lot of credit for calling that preseason. But the Chargers, the Dolphins, the Bills, to fend all those teams off is going to be nearly impossible.
Let's go to Hung, is our pal in Pennsylvania. Hey, Hung, how are you?
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody.
Hey, happy Friday.
Okay, today, can I make an extra point today because I missed out the Wednesday debate, but first of all, I had one point I disagree about Perloff today because everybody, even Zach Gill and Ryan Hickey, they on the bandwagon on the Bengals. But let me tell you one point, the Lamar Jackson versus the Bengals is 3-1. I mean versus the Joe Burrow 3-1, and versus the Bengals is 7-2 all time. And you got to remember, last 2 years, Lamar Jackson didn't play. But every time Lamar play, Bengal got no chance. Yeah. So put the Bengal wagon away. And another point I want to make that Wednesday debate, I forgot, didn't get through, is Stephen. I want to pay Stephen Smith from Arizona State. That's the biggest scandal of all time, I believe, because the mob got involved with that. Michael Frenzy, they got involved with that scandal. So I want to make 2 points today. If you can talk about it all day,
I saw the documentary on Arizona State, Hung, and it is an amazing story. They were so callous. The guys were spending money like it was going out of control at Arizona State. That was an all-time scandal. He's right about that.
Yeah, and Hung is referring to back on Wednesdays, we do the Great Debate Series. Our debate was the biggest on-field, on the court, on the battle of play cheating scandal, sort of loosely inspired by Michigan and what's going on with the sign stealing scandal. But to defend myself, Hung has a great one about Arizona State, but to defend myself, Tim Donaghy was my big scandal, and the mob did get involved in that one too. It was just they were profiting off of Donaghy's information. But Hung's got a great one. I love it.
If you're going to do the mob, obviously the Boston College point-shaving scandal, because that was Henry Hill, who was the inspiration for the movie Goodfellas, and Goodfellas is top 10 movie of all time, number 1 most watchable cable movie. I think, don't tell me anyone here in this room is not on board with the movie Goodfellas.
Never seen it.
I knew you were going to say that.
I haven't seen it either.
I had a feeling Manny might be there.
Both of you. They're too young.
Bogus, you've seen it, right?
Goodfellas?
It's on right now. Turn to TNT.
I don't know how to respond to these two never seeing it. It's unacceptable.
Guys, it's an age thing. I'm not calling you guys out, EJ, Manny. You can't help when you were born. But I find that with people under 35, it's not that big. It didn't get to them or something.
But we've all seen have you guys seen The Godfather?
Yeah.
I've seen pieces of it. I've never sat down and watched the whole Godfather.
Negative Ghost Rider.
But you've got Ghost Rider references.
Yeah, but Ghost Rider, they've seen every single episode.
Yeah, Back to the Future, all those movies, Ghost Rider, I can give you all those. But
have you seen any movie that was made 20 years before you were born? Any old movie?
Yeah, Rocky. How many times I talk about Rocky in this? I watched every single one 1,000,000 times.
Citizen Kane, does that count?
Okay. Have you actually watched it?
Manny, you've seen Citizen Kane, but you haven't seen Goodfellas?
I've been
That
forced
doesn't
to
make
watch
any
it.
sense.
I've been forced to watch it because of class.
Oh, that doesn't count.
I watched Star Wars. Star Wars was made 20 years before this.
And you've seen that, right?
Yeah, I saw Star Wars 1,000,000 times. First one, all of them.
Yeah, so watch that and Rocky like 3 less times and go watch Goodfellas
But
and
Star
all
Wars
of the
and
Godfather
Rocky
movies.
are good every time I watch.
So
why-
are these movies.
Have you seen Shawshank Redemption?
Yes, one of my favorites. Love it.
How could you see Shawshank Redemption right after
so
Shawshank
funny
comes
thing.
on TNT? Comes Goodfellas.
Just like Manny, I had to watch it in class.
You know what Shawshank? That's a great
in class.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an awesome class. I want to take that class.
That's the only reason why I watch Shawshank. But yeah, Shawshank is awesome. Fight
Wow.
Club is awesome. No, that's more 90s, but
Okay,
love
I mean
Fight
you're
Club.
in the Goodfellas.
I'm in the
kind of
ballpark.
area. You're in the
yeah,
ballpark.
of Goodfellas and Godfather. Just haven't. I don't know. Mob movies don't like make me run to TNT.
Well, first of all, you're not watching them on TNT. You need to watch the actual movie.
Wait,
no
wait, wait.
commercials, no editing.
You don't like mob movies? That's the best kind of movie.
I mean, like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a mob movie that I liked that really go back to.
What about
Departed?
Casino?
Never seen The Departed. Casino. I've heard about Casino because it's a reference to that's Taxi Driver. Joker is kind of like Taxi Driver, so I know about Taxi Driver. I've never watched Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver, not really a mob movie.
Right, it's not a mob movie, right.
Scorsese. Casino is Goodfellas light, Maggie. I'm not a huge Casino. Casino's fun, but it's not as good as Goodfellas.
No, there is no better acting performance in any Scorsese movie than Sharon Stone in Casino.
Oh, God.
And
Put
I
that
stand
out.
by that. Watch it again.
Oh, my
She's so
God.
good.
Well, you just said Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver. Are you being serious here?
I put Sharon Stone right up there. Everyone just got it's a misdirection because everyone saw her hoo-ha. She's excellent in Casino.
You're saying it's the best performance in any Martin Scorsese movie of all time.
I love it. She's so good. She's so damaged and believable in that movie.
Harvey Keitel in Mean Streets, Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver, anybody in the movie Goodfellas. Oh, boy. Okay.
See, I know, but even though I'm young, I did watch a lot of the hood classics. So I love Juice. I love Do the Right Thing. I love
Boys in the
Hood. Like those movies, I could recite all the lines, and like I've watched them a million times. But like the barbershops I was going into, they weren't playing Goodfellas. So I didn't watch those. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
But that's fine. You can fix this yourself. You don't need TNT or the barbershop. Go watch just one viewing of these movies.
All right.
That's
How
it.
about the movie American Gangster with Denzel?
I wanted to watch it. I haven't seen it yet.
See, you just don't like that crosses both lines there.
Yeah, it does.
So I just love any kind of organized crime. It doesn't matter what race, anything. This idea of a secret crime organization running the world. You like superhero movies. That's where that comes from.
That's probably why I haven't watched any of these movies, because I got to do so much of these superhero Marvel movies that come out every week.
I know, you make it sound like such a chore. I got to watch all these superhero movies. They just keep piling up. Bogush is here. He's got some headlines. Good morning.
Good morning again. I guess the good news is Bryce Young didn't throw an interception on Thursday Night Football, but he was sacked 3 times and never got the Panthers in the end zone.
Our defense ball, great game, start to finish. We have to be better. I have to be better first and foremost. I have to be a lot better.
His Panthers 1-8 after the 16-13 loss in Chicago. The Bears offense wasn't much better, getting 80 yards and a score from running back Deontay Foreman. The team does go 2-2 under Tyson Bagent, and now Justin Fields is likely to return from that thumb injury after this mini bye.
Going out with a win is obviously fantastic, for the team. And I don't know if this is it. Nothing really changes for me with the preparation, how I'm attack every week.
Bagent threw for 162 yards last night, 3 touchdowns, 5 picks over the 4 starts. Jamar Chase back at Bengals practice yesterday. He's planning to face the Texans Sunday after that nasty fall on his back Sunday night. Teammate T. Higgins, though, unlikely to play this weekend after hurting his hamstring in Wednesday's practice. The NBA sent the Hawks and Magic to Mexico City last night, and they brought the drama.
39 seconds left. No timeout. Here comes Trey. Trey driving. Trey to the basket. Trey goes underneath. Throws it in the corner. DeJounte. A 3 is good. DeJounte Murray just knocked down a 3 from the corner, and the Hawks take the lead, 120-119.
That's Steve Holman on Hawks Radio. Roughly 20,000 saw DeJounte Murray knock down those deciding points in the 120-119 Atlanta win. Trae Young, 41 points and 8 assists. Giannis put 54 on the Pacers, but turned the ball over twice late. His Bucks lose in Indy, 126-124. Those the most points anybody has scored in the NBA this season. For those of you without plans tonight, the in-season tourney resumes this evening. on those dumb courts all around the NBA. Number 21, USC with an 85-59 home win over Cal State Bakersfield last night. Isaiah Collier, the number 1 recruit last year, posting 19 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 steals. On the women's side, Caitlin Clark, 44 points, 8 boards, 6 assists. As number 3, Iowa, down number 8, Virginia Tech, 80-76 in front of 15,000 people in Charlotte. And Virginia running back Paris Jones spent the night at a Louisville hospital after a scary injury in the third quarter of a 31-24 loss at the 11th-ranked Cardinals last night. Helmet-to-helmet hit, left the field immobilized, did have movement in all extremities by the time he got to the hospital. Guys, back to you.
Bogish, thank you. Titan fan in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio says EJ hasn't seen Goodfellas because there's no superheroes in it.
I mean, it's true. It sounds like a bunch of villains to me, so.
We've got a lot more to do, including our NFL celebrity game picker, our celebrity NFL game picker. That's a better way to say it. Who is picking game for us this week? We'll give you a hint. She can beat you up. That is the tease. You're going to hear from her next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Well, you guys know enough by now. On Fridays, we welcome in a celebrity to pick NFL games for us. Perloff, we're super excited because this week we have a true football fan, Steelers fan, presumably big Penn State Nittany Lion fan because she's from State College, Pennsylvania, and that is Britt Baker. You know her as a wrestler for AEW. Got the new AEW All Out. Not only live on TBS, but Wintrust Arena Wednesday, November 22nd. Go to AEWTix.com for more. Britt, it's Maggie and Perloff. Thank you for being our celebrity picker. You got the Steelers jacket on. You are not messing around. What's your favorite Steelers memory?
Oh, my goodness. You know, it's not just one particular memory, but a reoccurring one. When you are in that stadium and the defense is ready to go out and you hear Renegade play and we bring out the terrible towels, that is something that you have to be there to feel it because it's electric. It's one of the coolest things, I think, in all of sports tradition.
Britt, you know, we're bringing you on as an analyst. Can you be objective about the Steelers, though? I have my doubts.
Honestly, I can't. I'm emotional when I make my predictions. I need to separate emotions from my predictions, but I can't. I won't.
What about Penn State? We know you're from State College, so Nittany Lions, huge game this weekend against Michigan. Explain to us is there a big difference between going to a Penn State game versus Steeler game, or is there a similar vibe?
There is, but there isn't. It's still like a cult following. Obviously, Beaver Stadium is huge, like 110,000 students, and just the fact that the student fans are in there, they're so rowdy. Your whole week when you go to Penn State revolves around the home football game and what your plans are before, during, and after. But like it's a huge game. I mean, this is it. This for James Franklin and Nittany Lions, you're either going forward or you're falling off the cliff right now. So I think they're going forward. I think we're gonna shut down the big bad Michigan bullies, and I'm really excited for this game. I think a lot of people are.
So what's more intense, a wrestling crowd, a college football crowd, or a Pittsburgh NFL crowd?
Man, I think it depends on a lot of factors. If your team's winning or losing, if you like the wrestler in the ring, and what city in the world you're in. Let me tell you, Chicago is one of the rowdiest wrestling crowds I've ever been in, and we love it. That's why we keep coming back. We love Chicago.
And that's where you're going to be November 22nd. Again, AEWTix.com. You got AEW All Out happening Wintrust Arena in Chicago. Let's talk a little wrestling for a second, because when we think of Chicago as wrestling fans, we can't help but think about CM Punk. He was with AEW. Now he's not. I mean, take us through that behind the scenes, Britt. What was it like to be a part of the wrestling outfit when CM Punk was going through his drama?
So, I mean, CM Punk coming back to wrestling is one of the most historical things in all wrestling history, and it always will be. You can't take that out of the wrestling books. And I'm really thankful that we got to work with CM Punk. I've learned some stuff from him. He was always really helpful and willing to work with younger talent. It just comes that it didn't work out. It wasn't a fit, but that's still always going to be part of the AEW story. It's just that chapter is closed for right now, and I think everyone wishes him well. I would hope to think he wishes AEW well too, and it just didn't work out. But at the end of the day, how cool is it that CM Punk was in wrestling again for AEW, and he got to wrestle in Chicago again too, of all places.
Do you think he'll wrestle again after this?
I don't know where he's at mentally. I think wrestlers always have that itch. It's once it's in your blood, it's in there, and no matter how much you want to stay away, it's hard to stay away. I mean, he came back after 7 years, so I think if the time and place and the company was right, I think he would.
So, Britt, why is this business so hard for wrestlers to quit? What keeps you guys coming back time and time again?
Yeah, I think it's a very toxic relationship where there's the highest highs and the lowest of lows, and then somewhere in between emotions that you're always kind of fighting and chasing and hoping to have again one day. And you never really know. I don't think you ever really know when is the right time to give it up, because there's always what if. Like, what if I have one more great match? What if I get to wrestle in my hometown one more time? What if there's all this things that you aren't really in control of, so you're always gambling.
But Britt, what about the physical toll, especially for older wrestlers? I mean, how many surgeries do some people have? I would think that would force me out of it personally.
So I'm trying to think how many bones I've broken. I've broken my wrist, my leg, my nose. I've had 2 concussions. It wears and tears on you for sure. And that's another thing. You're always gambling is your body. You have to take care of your body and your mental health, your physical health. You have to really kind of, again, you're gambling every time you're in the ring. Like, can you get hurt? You just never know. They're so loud. Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you over these people. There you go.
That's okay.
Like, listen, I'm doing an interview here now.
Britt Baker is joining us, of course, AEW All Out. Going to be live on TBS. You want to watch it on TV. If you want to attend the event at Wintrust Arena, Wednesday, November 22nd, AEW Tix, AEWTIX.com. Speaking of guys who are coming back, Ric Flair now joining AEW. Britt, I imagine anyone who's been wrestling for any amount of time has a Ric Flair story. Do you have a Ric Flair story?
I do. So it was when I was an independent wrestler, so working my way up the ranks. Ric Flair did a promo in the middle of the ring, and at the time I was nobody. I was just there to set up the ring, pay my dues, hopefully get seen. I didn't even say hi to Ric Flair because I was so nervous. And he's in the middle of the ring of this indie show, probably 1,000 people there. It was a big one. And he cut a promo and he said, "I'm just going to tell you all right now, that lady there in the white dress would have asked me to come here, I would have did it for free." And my face when I was just drained because he was pointing right at me, and I said, "Oh my God." And then I actually got to chat with him after, and he was so nice, so wonderful. If you ever get a chance to talk to Ric Flair, please give him 2 minutes of your time. You will never forget it, I promise.
Yeah, but Britt, Ric Flair gave a pep talk to Michigan this week. He's aligned himself with the enemy here. Are you going to give him a hard time?
Because they're the heels. We've established that they are the bad guys, but we'll see. Penn State's win to take. They got to come out the good guys.
What is it about Triple H where he's able to see this talent? You obviously were part of NXT.
So I actually was never part of NXT. I wrestled in NXT as an enhancement talent, but I have spoken with Triple H before, and that guy is very special, and his eye for talent and how he's able to just create these mega larger than life superstars is absolutely fantastic. But I got to give it up to my guy Tony Khan too. Tony Khan's never been a wrestler. He's never stepped foot in a wrestling ring as a competitor, and he's also made stars. Tony Khan's who made me. So I owe everything. I owe my career to him at this point, and I think pro wrestling is in great hands between all companies.
Tony has been a guest on our show many times. We are huge fans of his as well. Okay, we brought you here to talk, obviously, but also to pick some NFL games. So let's get to it. You're wearing the Steelers jacket, so I think we should probably start there. You got Packers at your Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are a 3-point favorite. I don't know if I have to guess. How do you see this one going?
Steelers, hands down. It's a home game. Kenny's going to show out this game. I know. We got sideline Matt Canada now in the equation. Things are really shaping up in Pittsburgh.
I love it. Sideline Matt Canada.
I would have liked if the Steelers Jags. I wish you were that week to see how you would do a pick.
I was at that game.
Khan.
I was at that game, and that was hard
Tony mad that you rooted against his Jaguars?
We didn't speak. We didn't talk about it. But he knows it. Tony knows the deal. I am a Jags supporter. I love the Jags. I go to more Jags games than Steelers game, honestly, because it's right in Florida. But when it's time, it's time. I can't let my dogs down. The black and yellow.
Let's go to that Jags game. It's a big one. 49ers at the Jags this week. The Jags are a 3-point underdog in this one.
Yeah. See, I hate this because I have to go Jags just because of who signs my paycheck. I do think the Jags will win this, but I also think San Francisco has way more to lose. They got to get out of this little rut that they're in. When I saw the opening game, the Steelers versus 40, I think it was opening game, I thought this team won the Super Bowl. They were unstoppable, outstanding. I was like, I don't know if they're just that good or we're that bad. I don't know what this is, but let's go Jags. Let's keep the family peace.
Smart lady. Texans at the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are a 6.5-point favorite.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Bengals too. I think they found their stride. Joe Burrow's he's maybe okay. He's okay.
I know. And given
that's generous. It's really generous of you as a Steelers fan.
Lions at the Chargers. You got the Chargers are a 3-point underdog at home.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Chargers. I like the Chargers. I like Justin Herbert. Let's go Chargers.
Never a threat to the Steelers either. How about last one for you? Broncos at the Buffalo Bills. This is Monday night. Bills are a 7.5-point favorite.
For a good reason. I'm definitely going to go with the Bills right now.
But before I let you go, one other thing that people may know about you, they may not know about you, is that you are a wrestler, but you also are a trained, licensed dentist.
Yes.
What is harder, being a dentist or being a wrestler?
They both have their challenges. I'll tell you what's the hardest is being a dentist that's a wrestler, because they don't train you in dental school, and there's no continuing education classes that teach you how to handle fans that want to be patients. It's a whole other sticky situation that we have to just click the phone down. Hey, sorry, we can't help you. But that's definitely the hardest part right now about my dental career is keeping the world separate as best I can.
Britt, where do you inflict more pain, in the dentist chair or in the ring?
Where do I what?
Inflict more pain.
No,
I know dentist. Yeah.
It depends who you are.
Oh, so dentists can control how much pain we feel? I always wondered that.
A good one can.
Can I ask one more dentist question? Why does my dentist, he puts everything in my mouth, then he asks me all these personal questions? Is that a distraction technique?
No, it's because he can understand what you're saying. Like, he knows we speak that language now. We know what you're saying. We know it. He's just being nice. He's just having a conversation with you.
Well, I guess we could try to say, Britt, thank you. Britt.
Hey,
Britt Baker.
I got it.
Such a great sport. Thank you for being our celebrity NFL picker. Again, AEW All Out live on TBS or at the Wintrust Arena Wednesday, November 22nd. Go to AEW Tix, AEWTIX.com. Britt, you are easily one of the most interesting people we've talked to. So thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. I'd love to be back sometime.
Grabbing at your jaw. So yeah, not a fun day at the office if you got a match with Britt Baker.
Yeah, and afterwards she gives you a fluoride treatment, which is weird,
Yeah.
but it totally.
It's nice of her.
Yeah,
clean out all the blood and everything, that she inflicted herself.
I have a feeling, Maggie, too, she was a little biased towards the Steelers. I don't know where I get that from.
No, I have a suggestion for her. She should wrap up her opponent in floss, and then it's like a PSA too. Floss, kids.
Oh boy. All right, coming up. Very, very tough question. Who is the MVP this year in the NFL? I have a choice, Maggie, that I think is going to shock you. That's next, right here on the Maggie and Perloff Show.
You're in a 5-minute break.
best chance.
Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She once fell off a ski lift. He was called in for questioning. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Andrew Perloff here in the New York headquarters of the M&P show. Maggie is upstate. I feel like things are brightening up there where you are.
Sound like I'm in jail.
Yes, you're upstate. You're up the river. I see there's a little, if you're watching us on CBS Sports Radio YouTube, a little sunlight is actually filtering into your room, Maggie. You have some coffee. Everything is working out now. It doesn't look like you're on an FBI stakeout anymore.
No, it still doesn't here. I look like I'm setting up a sting operation for the people next door, so I hope they're not up to no good. But you can never tell up here. You never know what's around the corner. Listen, it might look like sun. It's just clouds.
Oh, it is
clouds.
It really does look actually a lot brighter, or maybe it's you look brighter. I'm not sure. You've got a little bit of light coffee in you, but
I turned on an extra light.
We all got a little extra sleep because we didn't have to stay up thinking about that Bears-Panthers game last night. Bears win 16-13. But it marks the beginning of Week 10. We're halfway through the NFL season. How did this happen, Maggie? I have no idea. We just started yesterday. But I think there's a really interesting conversation, not just about who's coming out, who's the Super Bowl favorite. The MVP race this year, to me, is wild in the sense that I think you could pick 6 players to win it. There's quarterbacks playing at the highest level in other positions. But can I start off? I think we should go around and pick our MVP because I think there is a guy who is about to go on a roll and get his first MVP.
Okay, who is it?
Joe Burrow is absolutely on fire. Here's the stat about what Burrow is doing right now since he got healthy. He's the second quarterback in NFL history to complete at least 75% of his passes and throw for 10 or more touchdowns over a 4-game span with 150 attempts. The only other one is Peyton Manning. Joe Burrow, if you look at the statistical trends, I'm nerding out here, he's going to have his best season. And the MVP is a narrative award. You know that they want to reward Joe Burrow and make him officially a face of the NFL in the same conversation with Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning and Patrick Mahomes. So if he's anywhere close statistically, I think that voters are going to reward Joe Burrow. And he's playing so well, he's just as worthy to me as any other MVP candidate.
Okay, but here's a question. Like, you've got to win a lot of games to win the MVP, right? Just like you've got to win a lot of games to win Coach of the Year. Yeah, it's narrative award, and we like stories and stuff, but I mean, I know that the Cincinnati Bengals are looking great, and they've won 4 in a row, and it looks like they are back on it. But they still have to play Baltimore and Pittsburgh, at Jacksonville, again, at Pittsburgh, at Kansas City. That's on New Year's Eve. Cleveland, like, I know they're 5-3 right now, but are you just going to give it to a quarterback who might be on like a 10-win team, or is it more like quarterbacks who are on like 13-win teams? And I know wins aren't a quarterback stat, but generally this award goes to gaudy, not just stats, but winning.
Yeah, but they've beaten good teams in this run. They beat, I think, a better Buffalo team than you think. They killed a San Francisco team, 31-17. They beat Seattle. The only easy win in this 4-game stretch was Arizona. I don't know who they can't beat. Actually, I hope they take Houston seriously and don't look ahead to Baltimore this weekend. I think they can beat Baltimore, and they already lost once to them. It was very close, but you get a sense divisional rivals will split. I don't think it matters what their schedule is if they keep playing like this. So Jamar Chase will play this weekend. T. Higgins is still out. I think they're schedule proof, and in part because Joe Burrow is playing like an MVP. Who do you got?
Well, it would be like schedule proof in that it's kind of like, I'm going to say lifetime achievement award for Burrow, even though he's such a young quarterback. But it's almost like, we know you're this good.
Yes.
Clearly you are, and you play like an MVP, and so kind of be damned. And maybe, listen, I'm not throwing out that Patrick Mahomes might just win another one. Like, I think we're kind of quick. I don't think there is like this. I know the offense has not looked the same for Kansas City, but I think when in doubt, like when all else fails, people are going to look at Mahomes and still say he is the best quarterback in the league. No disrespect to Burrow, but Burrow, I think, is kind of thought of to be 2. Like Mahomes is 1, Burrow's 2, has been right there with Jalen Hurts in the past, has been there with Josh Allen, although Josh is kind of tailing a little bit because of some of the untimely turnovers. But I'm not out of the realm that they're not just going to give it to Mahomes, like, with all things being equal. Now, if you're asking me who my MVP would be right now, it's got to be Tyreek Hill. I mean, Tyreek Hill, you want to talk about breaking records. I know there's the reality is that Miami has not, beaten a lot of good teams. But that is something that falls to me on the quarterback and the coach. Tyreek Hill still out there doing his thing, and potentially breaking this record, I think is something that is, not going to be lost on voters. And also changing it up. Like you're talking about, maybe there's a fatigue with Mahomes. Maybe there's a fatigue with quarterbacks. And maybe finally the voters say, you know what? Maybe this wide receiver should get it.
Yeah, Devontae Smith won the Heisman at Alabama, sort of broke a long-time trend. So Tyreek Hill's averaging 119.6 yards per game this year. Our defense is going to adjust at some point, Maggie. You're playing the Dolphins. What is your only assignment? I guess the running game is good too, but aren't you triple teaming Tyreek Hill? At some point, doesn't his number have to come down?
I don't know. I mean, did we always say that for years about Kelsey too? And good luck. Like, some guys are really tough. I know he's coming off of a game that's not so awesome, and Hill is too. But talk about the biggest weapon. If you were asking like, who do I want that's not a quarterback? Wouldn't Tyreek Hill be like the number one? He's the number one cheat code in the NFL.
Unless you're going to go defense with Myles Garrett or Micah Parsons. I understand what you're saying. I just think that Miami is trending downward a little bit. And if I'm a defensive coordinator, which I've always aspired to be, as you know, just let Achane and Raheem Mostert run. Just do not let Tyreek Hill get behind you. It speaks to his talent. He's going to get by you, and he still gets by people. Not a bad choice, but I do think voters would be nervous to make a non-quarterback the choice.
No, because nothing matters. And like Joe Burrow is going to win one. We know that. And I just think you would reward what we're seeing, especially if Tyreek Hill breaks the single-season receiving record, but does it in 16 games, which he's on pace to do. So it's not, you can't blame the 17th game and say, oh, he had this extra game to break the record. If he actually gets there in 16, I think he becomes a lot more palatable.
All right, EJ, who do you have?
My pick is Lamar Jackson. I think that in many ways he's been underrated with how he's played. And we talked a lot about the Ravens' offense and how much has improved in the earlier segment. Lamar leads the NFL in completion percentage. He has the second fewest interceptions among quarterbacks. Only C.J. Stroud has less interceptions in terms of starters. He actually is on pace to become the first player in NFL history to have a 70% completion percentage and rush for over 500 yards. He's rushed for over 400 already. That's more than Ramondre Stevenson and Najee Harris. You have a combined 14 rushing and passing touchdowns. And to me, I'm also projecting what I'm going to see from the Ravens. I know the AFC North is a bear, but I think that this is clearly the best team in the AFC North. And I think that you'll see them kind of run away with this division. Pat Mahomes is going to be able to pad a lot of his stats against some bad teams. I actually think the Dolphins, I won't say they're getting figured out, but I don't know if we see Tyreek Hill go on to that 2,000-yard season like he was on track to prior to this past weekend. So I think Lamar Jackson's having a stellar season. I think that offense is only getting better. So I think that the stats you're already seeing from Lamar Jackson, you're going to see those things even improve over the next few weeks. So I got Lamar.
Here's Lamar's problem. Lamar Jackson's biggest competition is not Joe Burrow. It's not Patrick Mahomes. It's not even my guy, Jalen Hurts. It's 2019 Lamar Jackson. So if you look at the stats, you think Lamar Jackson's having a great year. he is down in almost every way except completion percentage compared to that year. That was a magical year, and he just doesn't have those numbers anymore. He's way down in yards. He's down in touchdowns. He's way down in rushing, how many yards he gets per carry. So I think to be a 2-time MVP, don't you have to actually improve? It's like the Heisman. You can't. Caleb Williams would have had to be better than last year. So voters are going to hold it against Lamar that he's basically the same quarterback he was in 19, if not a little worse.
But that's unfair because, like, Pat Mahomes not having the season he's had in previous years as well. I mean, we've seen the Chiefs offense at times look very pedestrian. And, I don't think it would be fair for Mahomes, a multi-time MVP, to say, well, we can get away with his numbers being a little down, but the Chiefs beating up on bad teams and relying on their defense. But Lamar relying on his defense and beating up on good teams, we would take that away from him. I don't think that's fair at all.
Well, yeah, but Lamar, that year that he won the MVP had a 113 pass rating. Now he's down to 100. Everything across. I know he's still learning this offense. He's not really putting up gigantic numbers. I know they're killing people, but that's because of the defense.
Teams, though. I mean, you got to talk about. You're talking about these numbers. It's almost like when you have a guy who's not playing a certain amount of minutes in the NBA because they keep blowing teams out.
Yeah.
Like, he's not playing in fourth quarters in some of these games. So you talk about some of these counting stats like yards and touchdowns. He's not going to get those because they don't need them. They're beating these teams in the first half.
But think like a voter.
I hope the voters be smart enough to kind of look at that and see the forest through the trees and see what Lamar's done this season. I think that, for me, I think he's the pick for me right now. And I think that, again, as the games get tougher and as these games where he's going to have to play in the fourth quarter, you'll start to see some Superman Lamar performances, and I think that's going to ride the Ravens perhaps even to a number 1 seed. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, EJ, it's a great pick. I mean, Lamar in this offense looks super scary, and it definitely looks different. My one thing about Lamar is I wonder if the voters would hold it against him, like something that Perloff has mentioned a couple times, like the show me in the playoffs situation. And this happened with, like, Giannis, if you want to take it to the NBA. It's like he was a 2-time MVP before he even won a title. Then he did win the title in the second MVP year, so it kind of made it look like, okay, we made the right choice. Jokic, same. It's like, do the voters, say, listen, we think he's got MVP caliber and numbers, but we need to see more in the playoffs. Now, listen, Joe Burrow's done a lot in the playoffs, and he still hasn't gotten one. So I guess it works both ways, but I always wonder if that's being held against Lamar.
Yeah, it's so funny, Maggie. I was thinking the same exact thing. The NBA...
I don't think that's right, by the way. I just think that's what might be happening.
Well, Jokic didn't win it last year. He had no chance last year because he'd won 2 MVPs and fell short in the playoffs, and voters remember that. It happened. They voted for Steve Nash twice, and they disappointed in the playoffs. I think voters remember what that guy does in the playoffs and the fact that he disappointed that year. But again, you have to measure him against past. He is 7-2 this year, right? And it's pretty impressive, right? He was 13-2 as a starter in 2019. They're not going to have.
That's 2019.
I'm just saying that they're not going to have that kind of record. He's got to blow everyone else out of the water, and I just don't think that offense is built to. Because the defense is so good and they love to run the ball, I just don't think he's going to have the gaudy enough numbers. Because if it's close, they'll give it to the guy who hasn't won it before.
Pat Mahomes is on pace to throw 15 interceptions this year. His QB rating is a 96. He's the current favorite in this MVP race according to the Vegas odds. Why would, because of him? I guess you're saying maybe it's because of the playoff situation, but his numbers aren't close to what he's done in the past. He threw 50 touchdowns one season.
I don't think it's Mahomes. I think it'd be Hurts or Burrow. I mean, Jalen Hurts is right there in the odds too. I didn't pick him because the guy's limping and it's week 9. I don't know how he keeps this up. They love the new MVP, and if you're
Also,
a voter, it's a novel guy.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Perloff, but the other thing about Hurts, do you think, and this is not his fault at all, and it's a cheat code, do you think that voters don't want to reward the tush push?
Ooh.
Because they make it look so easy, and essentially the Eagles start every offensive drive at, 1st and 9 or 1st and 8, unlike every other team that starts at 1st and 10 because they don't have the tush push. Although last night, maybe this was the trick play that Eberflus had promised in the second half at halftime, was the Cole Kmet tush push.
I don't think that's not a trick play, and that was amazing. That guy fell forward. That was a 4-yard gain. I don't know why that's the thing. Every team should be doing this. It's not illegal. Why aren't you going out there and tush pushing yourself? This is
because
something I never thought I'd say.
Everybody else gets hurt.
That's from the X-rated version of Maggie and Perloff.
Yeah.
Not everybody else gets hurt. The New York Giants get hurt, and that is the Keystone Cops of the NFL. Just because the Giants can't do it doesn't mean that every other team shouldn't be doing it.
I'm sorry. I'm still going to push back on Lamar and him against himself. Because, yes, that 2019 season was magical. But, again, Joe Burrow right now on pace to throw for less than 4,000 yards. He's thrown for 4,611 yards, 4,475 yards in 2 previous seasons. Jalen Hurts is going to smash his interceptions numbers from last season. He's already at 8, I believe. I think he had 6 of all last season. So, and he's not going to come anywhere near the rushing numbers.
But look at Joe Burrow's first 4 games, 82 yards, 222, 259, 165. Since then, it's 300 yards every
right,
game.
But he's
on fire. It's just look at the trends.
Right, but he's not going to still meet those numbers because of what happened earlier in the season. I don't think it's fair as well to say, well, we could just scratch out the first 3-4 weeks he was hurt.
No, but
that's part of the NFL season.
If he keeps playing like this, his numbers are going to start to accumulate. He's going to be right up there and he's doing this against the Niners and the Bills, 2 outstanding defenses. Wait till he finally gets a break and plays a weak defense. He's going to rack up huge numbers.
He's going to have a trip to Baltimore, and that's not going to be fun for the Bengals.
I don't know.
I don't think
again, a divisional game, you never know what's going to happen there, and they're playing so well right now. Maybe I'm more. Maggie, tell EJ the rule of the show. Just tell him, inform him.
What? Thou shalt not bet against Joe Burrow,
and thou shalt not.
And thou shalt not bet it at all on the Atlanta Falcons. But that's a totally other situation. That's just us getting burned. I think it's got to be the poll question for today. Like, who deserves to be the MVP, or who will be the MVP at the end of the season? Is it Burrow or is it Lamar? I mean, I think Tyreek Hill should be in there as well. But I think the Burrow-Lamar, we're going to get to see that head-to-head. So, obviously they're playing each other's defenses, but that's going to be a big game to see who kind of takes the lead maybe in this conversation.
Well, I mean, I think Hurts and Mahomes are the 2 Vegas favorites. So I would do, who is more worthy between Lamar and Burrow? And I think the reason, EJ, you were surprised Lamar's not the Vegas favorite. It's because of that because Lamar already won one. That's the only reason, in my opinion.
I know. I mean, the MVP is definitely a narrative award, but I think that, to me, we're kind of so far removed from 2019, and so much has happened since then. I mean, he's missed a lot of games to finish seasons. Like, I feel like it'd be different for some of these other guys if this was something that happened last season or 2 seasons ago, or even that he'd been playing the full 16, 17 game schedule during that time. That's like almost a different world in 2019.
Whatever. In the break, I'm writing a letter to my congressman. Do not keep the MVP away from Jalen Hurts because of the brotherly shove. Maggie, I can't believe you're even putting that out there in the universe. Now that you say that, the voters are listening to our show. That's completely unfair. Did you do that? Was that against me? Was that a personal move right there?
I'm just calling it like I see it. People don't think this is not a popular move. Now, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio or twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio is where you can watch the show. The Weedos and the Coffee Drinkers up early. They've got opinions. Drew Walsh said, if you're going to give the MVP to a wide receiver, you need to start paying attention to A.J. Brown. He's only 70 yards behind Tyreek Hill.
I looked at A.J. Brown. He is really playing well. But you can't, again, there's no way they give it to A.J. Brown and not Jalen Hurts, just from a narrative standpoint.
Also, people are saying Maggie is up close and personal, and also Titan fan says Maggie's Zoom reminds me of Captain Kirk approaching an unknown planet, and the queen of the lizard people is conversing with him on the starship big screen.
I know some of those words.
Does my face look like totally huge in the Zoom?
Yeah,
yes,
basically, you're threatening the Enterprise with missiles any second now. Yeah.
Do I look like Godzilla?
Wait, are you Captain Kirk or are you the enemy? I didn't quite understand that. Yeah, you're pretty close. You're pretty close to the screen.
I feel like it's what it looks like when you look through a peephole and someone's like standing right outside your door. I'm just like right up on. I'm coming live into your living room and into your computer.
It's just so much better now that it's actually daylight out. In that first segment, I just felt sad looking at you.
All right, Maggie and Pearl on Twitter. That's where you can go vote on our poll question, which is who is the deserving MVP. We're going to put or who will be the MVP, right? Burrow, Lamar. You want to put Mahomes and Hurts there too?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm gonna post it up right now. Who would be your NFL MVP?
Gosh, do you guys have a prediction who wins that? That is 4 even candidates there.
It's going to be fun. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Just because Perloff's in New York and I'm in upstate New York does not mean we can't take your phone calls. So let us know who you think. Again, 855-212-4CBS. Coming up, we are handing out some other NFL superlatives, not MVP, something a little bit more off the beaten path. We'll get to that next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining.
Let's make our escape. Come on, let's go there.
One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Andrew Perloff here in our New York studio. Maggie, upstate. There are some interesting questions in the chat about Maggie's situation here. Titan fan says she was partying in Binghamton with friends last night and got a hotel that she was planning to come back. I don't know if that's true. But then there's another issue. There's a photo behind you that isn't centered that's driving a lot of us nuts. I don't know what it is. But basically, people think your hotel room could be a little nicer, Maggie. They're wondering why CBS Sports Radio doesn't have you in the Ritz.
First of all, there's not a Ritz for 500 miles from where I'm sitting right now. But listen, I know that the brown curtains might be throwing you off the trail, but I am staying in the nicest hotel in Binghamton. So I did my part. I had to make sure that the internet connection was going to be good enough. So no, this was fun. I wasn't partying with my friends last night because, I'm here for kind of a not great reason, kind of a sad reason, but I still had to wake up super early in the morning to the show. My friends are at dinner last night putting down multiple martinis, and I was the designated driver and took everybody home.
I have a question. You have this photo framed above your hotel bed, and it looks like a gray, wintry tree scene. You can look out your window in Binghamton, New York, and get that 12 months a year. Why don't they have a picture of the Caribbean or something nice and uplifting in that room? And why are the walls that dark gray? It's
Perloff, it's actually a photograph. It's not a painting. I'm just kidding.
Well,
it looks like
we can't really see what it is. It just looks like you're looking out the window. Why not put some color into this room? I don't know what hotel you're in, but I might want to get in there and do some interior decorating.
Well, I'm sure they'd love to have you.
Perloff first would be defensive coordinator of the Eagles, then interior decorator of Binghamton Hotels.
Oh, yeah. This bend don't break stuff, that's got to go away in Philadelphia. And these gray rooms in Binghamton, got to fix that as well. I'm on the case.
My favorite is always when people, and this is just funny that they write Binghamton with a P, like Hampton, like it's the lost Hampton. Like East Hampton, West Hampton are these very fancy places on the East Coast to go vacation, and Binghamton is like the long lost brother. There's no P.
Listen, you know I know Binghamton well. My mom's from Central New York. The Wendy's there was my favorite Wendy's growing up. And they had a Champion outlet, which was famous. People come from all over the area. That was the sickest store. Is that still there, Maggie?
Oh, yeah, it's still there. And because everything 90s is now in style again, because we're going through this massive nostalgia moment in our country, the Champion's doing better than ever. Yeah. They've got stores now all over the place, but we held tight to it. Oh, one other cool fun fact about my hometown is this is where the original Dick Sporting Goods is from. So Dick is actually a real person. His name was Dick Stack. He was a teacher and a hunting and fishing enthusiast, and he opened up a sporting goods store for hunting and fishing. I just passed it last night. I thought about taking a picture in front of it because now, if you're a sports fan, you're just inundated with commercials for Dick's Sporting Goods, and this is the originator.
That is not that cool at all, Maggie, by the way.
By the way, we also can't just gloss over that his name was Dick Stack.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
I'm not going to say it.
One thing, by the way, when I was growing up,
maybe rest in peace.
Is Dan Patrick played the owner of Dick's Sporting Goods in a movie, by the way, with Sandler, which was great. When I used to go to the Champion outlet, they had all the rejects because Champion printed all the college sweatshirts. So I would buy for $2 an Illinois University sweatshirt. And everybody in high school would be like, first of all, why is there a giant thread coming out of the back of your sweatshirt? Do they still have the $1.99 misspelled sweatshirts? That's the coolest thing ever.
Well, maybe I'll have some gifts when I come back to see you guys in the studio on Monday.
I'd take a Notre Dame sweatshirt anytime. Not to put any pressure on you, but it would be nice to get some swag there, Mag.
I'll see what I can do if they've got any Michigan shirts.
Huge Michigan fan.
I turned 21 in Binghamton, by the way.
That's so sad.
It really
I know
is.
exactly where you went.
No,
I
you
can
don't.
Name every bar you hit.
Absolutely, you did not. I turned 21 in a hotel room traveling between Fordham and St. Bonaventure with men's basketball. They played, and I was on the radio in St. Bonaventure. We drove to Binghamton to split the drive in half, got to the hotel, had beers with my radio crew in our room, and then went to sleep. That's how I turned 21.
You know, Bogusch, I would say
Binghamton.
only in New York, where St. Bonaventure is outside, basically in between Buffalo and Rochester, is the only place colder, darker, and grayer than where I'm sitting right now.
Yep. Yes. That is this wonderful / awful place. You need to go there once, but not twice. Oh, boy.
It builds character, is what people have been telling me for 40 years. Bogusch has some headlines. Good morning.
Good morning again. If you stuck with Thursday Night Football to the bitter end, you saw the Panthers trying to tie or take the lead late in that game on 4th and 10 from the Bears' 42. Carolina elected a 59-yard field goal instead of going for the first down and maybe eventually the winning touchdown. Head coach Frank Reich tried to explain.
There was mixed opinions about what we should do. That's my call. I've seen us make 60-yarders in practice. Felt like there was a little bit of a breeze at our back. If you just look at the pure percentages, I think the pure percentage play is to kick it.
Yeah, opinions not really mixed outside the Panther staff. Nobody seemed to like this decision. People definitely didn't like Carolina bring a timeout before the kick, which Eddie Pinheiro missed. He was well short. The Panthers lose 16-13. They're now 1-8, while it's win number 3 for Matt Eberflus.
We certainly, had a good plan coming out there, and again, it was a defensive game this week, and I thought the guys did a really nice job finishing the game the way we're supposed to, and we did good.
The defense sacked Bryce Young 3 times, kept the Panther offense out of the end zone. Their only TD was a punt return that gave them an early 7-0 lead in what might have been his last.
One sec, Bogusch.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm so sorry. Do you guys see the quote from Adam Thielen? It's not video, but he said it apparently to the Panthers' own website. So you're no fear of repercussion when you're giving this to Panthers.com. But he said, quote, we're just not hitting on all cylinders right now. We're not hitting on any cylinders. It's an embarrassing effort. I think everyone's just embarrassed, to put up 6 points on offense. We didn't do anything. It's embarrassing when your defense is playing the way they're playing. It's embarrassing. Listen, I know everything around the Panthers is bad right now, but those are the kind of performances that get coaches fired because it's a big effort. It's a big stage, pardon me, standalone game. And you have a veteran in the league questioning the effort of the offense.
Was that a questioning effort or just questioning the production?
He said embarrassing effort.
Oh, he said embarrassing. I didn't hear you say that. Okay.
Yep. It's an embarrassing effort.
Frank Reich's dead man walking. There's no doubt about it. That whole staff is gone because David Tepper, the owner, is calling him to these contentious meetings already. If you win 1 or 2 games and don't have your draft pick, it's over. So my question is, why is Frank Reich should go to Andy Dalton? I'm sorry, because if you're gonna lose out, you might as well go to the veteran. Let him take the punishment. So why are you gonna get poor little Bryce Young killed, Maggie?
Well, emphasis on little, but I mean, you're gonna go to Dalton. I don't think he's making that decision, Perloff. First of all, I don't think that's a good idea. Let Bryce Young get out there and get more experience.
Why? You're not getting anything from that. If you're Frank Reich, you're not going to be there for this experienced quarterback.
I know, but I think that the owner, and I don't think Frank's empowered to make that decision. Let's put it that way. Because I honestly think, if Frank Reich was empowered to make the decision, I think C.J. Stroud probably would have been their quarterback. And I think it's that stupid S2 test that we talked about for a while that said that C.J. Stroud couldn't process information quickly. That turned out to be a boatload of crap. I hope whoever, is in charge of that test made their money and got out because C.J. Stroud is blowing that out of the water.
Well, okay, CJ, I totally understand what you're saying, but C.J. Stroud, you have to understand this is a awful offensive line. Houston's got an outstanding offensive line. They have nothing but first-round picks. And I know you say that Houston has no receivers, but Tank Dell was one of the great picks of this draft. Carolina literally has no receivers. They threw a long bomb to a guy that no one, including the announcers, had ever heard of, named Michael Strawn. I was like, who is this guy? And the play calling is so bad, I think that would have sunk C.J. Stroud in Carolina, too. So he would be better. I'll give you, he would be better than Bryce Young, but he wouldn't be the C.J. Stroud we're seeing in Houston right now. And by the way, Bryce Young beat C.J. Stroud in one of the worst NFL games I've ever seen 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
There was college football last night as well. Virginia losing at number 11, Louisville 31-24, despite a 7-point lead in the fourth. More importantly, running back Paris Jones taken off the field on a stretcher after a helmet-to-helmet hit in the third quarter. This was the post-game update from head coach Tony Elliott.
We're getting some encouraging news. I know he's getting an MRI right now, but the news is encouraging. But before I make any public statement, I want to have all the facts and be accurate. But I know that the initial reports that we're getting are very encouraging according to the medical staff.
The team later said on social media that Jones regained all movement in his extremities. He stayed at the hospital overnight for observation. QB Jaden Daniels was at LSU practice yesterday. They assume he will soon clear concussion protocol, so he is listed as probable for tomorrow's game with Florida. Perloff, you were right. James Madison, Kent State men's basketball last night, better than Thursday Night Football. The Dukes forcing OT with a 3, drawing an offensive foul, then a lay-in all in the last 4 seconds. They won 113-108 in OT to back up their upset win at number 4 Michigan State on Monday night. Sparty bouncing back from that loss with a 74-51 decision over Southern Indiana. Women's number 1 LSU also lost its opener, but took care of Queens University last night, 102-55. Angel Reese, 28 points and 14 boards. In the pros, 54 Giannis points, not enough for the Bucks. They lose in Indy, 126-124. Chris Middleton had 19, but wishes they all did more to help out Giannis.
I thought he played a great game. We just got to be better at the end for him there. Help him out a little bit more.
Giannis did commit 2 turnovers in the final 90 seconds or so with Milwaukee down 1.
Oh, we're a Pacers show, right? That's all agreed.
Yeah.
That we are all into this. No, just entertainment-wise. If the Pacers are playing, somebody's scoring 140. This is great.
The scores are stupid.
Yeah.
With the Pacers.
I mean, they make every game exciting. And the fact that Giannis, is this the first, he scored 54. It's some crazy stat. No team loses in this situation, but against the Pacers, pull it out.
Because they're the Pacers.
Wait, EJ, why are you so mad at the Pacers? Because of Reggie Miller?
Just Reggie Miller. Oh, you just threw that out. Like, of course. Reggie Miller is a 4-letter word in New York City. What are you talking about?
Go ahead, how old were you? You didn't even see that.
I was 3 years old in '94.
Oh, so you watched that, but not Goodfellas.
Yeah, no, I was watching, I was on my dad's lap watching the playoff games, and then of course '99 and 2000 back-to-back conference championship appearances. That's against the Pacers. Reggie Miller. Yeah.
When you were 6 and 7,
and I was crying when we lost the Pacers in 2000.
I got to give EJ credit. That's a good grudge for a 5-year-old.
That is a grudge.
Yeah, I can understand Maggie.
In 2000, I was 9. It wasn't like I was 5. It was.
Maggie, you were that age for a lot of those Bills Super Bowl losses. Do you hold a grudge for that stuff?
Which is why I don't claim them. I never I don't remember, so it's like it didn't happen.
Ooh, but I hate Whitey Herzog as a 7-year-old Met fan. The Cardinals.
There you go.
All right, I hear you.
I think in some ways, like the younger you are, I think there's more hatred. For the
that is true.
If Tommy Herr walks in this room right now, he's getting punched in the face.
Right, like my hatred for the Miami Heat is like immense because of those series. I was 8 years old and I'm watching PJ Brown flip Charlie Ward over and cost the Knicks a series. Like winning a championship means more to you when you're that young. I think, even when you're older.
I love this guy.
Yeah, 100%. This guy EJ.
Yeah,
couldn't love me.
I gotta be honest, does it really fade with your age? Because I got some major gripes against Tom Brady. I mean, he definitely tortured my team, and I have many cognitive moments of him and Belichick running up the score and doing stuff like that. I don't know if it's just when you're a kid.
And when I was 7 years old, I wrote a letter to Pete Rozelle about the Dallas Cowboys defensive backs holding Harold Carmichael and the Philadelphia Eagles. Literally on station, and I said, this is clearly a series of fouls here because there's no way they could stop this guy.
I mean,
did you write that in pencil?
Probably crayon. I think I actually cut out magazine letters because it was that crazy.
I mean, the Michigan scandal has been tough because, I grew up a Miami Hurricanes fan. Ohio State, in my opinion, stole a national championship. And Ohio State, while I think Jim Harbaugh is kind of a bozo and kind of a weirdo, I have no problem with seeing him have this trouble. This is going to benefit Ohio State. And I don't want to see Ohio State get benefited. I'm still salty over a national championship that should have went to the Canes.
Man, EJ, we got to get you a therapist.
Yeah,
or
decaf.
Trust me, my girlfriend tells me that every week.
Yeah, or a championship. I mean, jeez.
By the way, if you can't see us on
that's
YouTube,
not happening,
EJ's wearing a sick blue pinstripe Orlando jersey. I had no idea. He walked in. He's wearing this Orlando jersey. It's Shaq, I guess.
Yes, it's Shaq.
Why? What's the connection there?
Because it's fire. I love throwback jerseys, and it's funny. I gotten heat from Knicks fans in the past when I've done shows, and they're like, one time I wore a throwback Kobe jersey, and they're like, "How are you wearing a Lakers jersey?" I'm like, "No, I'm wearing a Kobe jersey." It's totally different. When you're doing throwbacks, the teams don't matter. Now, I won't wear a Reggie Miller jersey
What about
or
Rick Smith?
an Alonzo Mourning jersey.
All right.
But guys who don't matter to the Knicks, like Shaq, there's no beef with the Shaq and the Knicks. I could wear an Orlando Magic jersey.
Oh, boy. This Knicks fandom is a problem, EJ. It's a problem for all of us. It's not going to end well. I can tell you where it's going, buddy. It's not pretty.
Second round exit, just like Philly, right?
Oh, here you go, right?
Oh, Manny.
Okay.
Manny, what are you wearing? Starks? What is that?
This is an RJ Barrett jersey, the guy who's on the rise.
The only other person in New York
Manny.
the only other person with an RJ Barrett jersey in New York City is RJ Barrett. What are you doing?
No, it's going to be you because he's going to be traded to the Sixers when Embiid comes here. So.
No, they're waiting for Embiid's knees to just get a little worse and maybe a little overweight so he can break down in a Knicks uniform.
Oh, right. Okay. Sure.
Oh, my gosh. This is insane.
You and I are best friends now. These two, you're real enemies.
Wait, Bogus, who's your NBA team?
I don't really have an NBA team. I guess the Nets if I had to pick somebody, but I don't waste energy on the NBA to that regard.
Woof.
Yeah.
So, okay, I like this. Finally, we've found something that Perloff and Bogish might actually want to team up on, maybe some future Knicks bet or something like that against EJ and Manny. And we had a suggestion earlier on in the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio or twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio if you guys want to watch the show. I'm trying to find who said this. I want to give them credit. But meanwhile, I'll find it. They said, if there's a bet where Perloff and Bogish are on the same side, and if they lose subsequent bet, the punishment is that Bogish and Perloff have to be handcuffed to each other for 24 hours.
Like that Great Kinnear Matt Damon movie. We're basically Siamese twins.
So I have a couple of things. I just want to point out that I want to be your friend in this scenario. Like from the beginning, I wanted to go with you to San Antonio so we could be friends. You've made it adversarial. So on that note, I mean, I'd have to have some ground rules on like what bathroom time is like, where we would sleep.
Yeah.
Before I say no to this, but I'm not going to dismiss it out of hand.
Okay, not only will I not do a whole day handcuffed to Bogish, I will not do 5 minutes. My worst fear in life is getting eaten by a shark. My second worst fear
is me.
No, is being a Siamese twin. I would never want to do that. The lack of privacy.
That's your second fear?
I see movies about Siamese twins, or my daughters will show me a TikTok, and it freaks me out. Just to not have any private time or private thoughts is terrifying to me.
But you know you can't become one now, right?
Well, this is what the audience wants.
You've dodged that fear. Move on.
No.
Erase it.
Sharks, Siamese
There are sharks
twins.
everywhere. But you can't become a Siamese twin right now.
Just the idea of like me, just like you said, Perloff being on Fear Factor or something like that, and you put him in a pit of snakes, and he's like,
whatever,
weird or whatever. You know what? Scratch that. Hey, let's bring this person there. You're gonna be glued to this person together, and Perloff be like, no, please bring back the snakes.
It's funny. I would rather do a pit of snakes if they were non-poisonous. Poisonous snakes would probably be a bad idea. So I have two very deep-seated fears. I even have dreams about both of them: sharks and Siamese twins. It'd be my worst nightmare. So I'm not doing this.
Wait, in your dreams, who is the other person? Is it you or is it a different person?
That's a great question. That's why it's a dream.
Is it bogus?
It's bogus.
It's bogus just running through every year the Mets.
Have you guys ever
one
read
after another, just reading the Mets media guide?
I get these alerts from the New York Post, the greatest newspaper in the world, and often I'll get a pair of Siamese twins gets married. So one of the
you often get these alerts.
Yeah, all the time. I'm not joking. I get it all the time. That is my worst. Imagine being on the wedding night with your twin and you're not married. Only she's married or he's married. That would be awful.
See, it would make sense if you were afraid of Siamese twins like attacking you, but you're afraid
I'm
of
not scared of that.
becoming
They're
one
probably perfectly nice
within
people.
your life. It's amazing.
Did you have to
No, and it's
avoid the
only
show
the-
Cat Dog when it came out? Like, could you never show your kids Cat Dog now on Paramount? Like,
Oh, I don't know that show.
it's a show where the dog and a cat are essentially Siamese twins.
These
And-
people have watched Goodfellas and all these mob movies, but they haven't watched Cat
I
Dog
know,
with their
yeah.
children.
What are you guys doing over there?
I've seen Captain Underpants. Is that
Yeah.
what we're talking about here?
No, it's not. Captain Underpants is also phenomenal, but no, this is a Nickelodeon show where a dog and a cat are Siamese twins. You can tell how that's going to go. You know,
That's-
the dog wants to do
Wait,
crazy
hold on.
things.
Can we just all pause on the visual of Perloff being a Siamese twin,
Yeah.
where the brother gets married, and on the wedding night,
That's great
they're
journalism.
consummating the marriage, and Perloff is like reading a Sports
Yeah, yeah.
Illustrated
No, I
with
know.
a flashlight.
Yeah. That's not good.
I can't even say
Wait,
the words.
you guys aren't
I'm
scared of
laughing.
being Siamese twins? It's
No.
never crossed
It
your
will
mind?
never happen to me. I'd never have to think about it.
Yeah. You have no idea.
We
Have you
all
ever seen
made it.
Saw?
We're not.
You ever seen Saw?
I've never seen Saw.
No, it's not Saw. What's the one where the horror movie where you get glued to another person?
It doesn't matter. Not a documentary. It's not going to happen.
It's not a nonfiction piece, I'm sure.
Well, I'm probably
It's
not
called,
going to
like-
get eaten by a shark, and it still keeps me up at night.
But theoretically, that could happen the next time you're at the beach. You're never going to become a Siamese twin.
Someone wants me to be handcuffed to you. It's the same thing.
It's not,
Definitely
because we
not
would
the same
walk
thing.
away after 24 hours.
I hope so.
No, what you were talking about is like Centipede or something.
Yeah, some terrible movie.
I love it. Perloff's just worried about becoming a Siamese twin because he doesn't want to like be the awkward third wheel at like breakfast the next day. It's so
I
much
think it's
small
more because
talk.
it'll be a distraction from what he wants to do. Whether it's reading analytical notes on on release times.
I need alone time. If I have to talk to somebody all day, it's not good.
I'm telling you, I think that's what it is.
Says the radio host. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We got superlatives coming next in the NFL, plus big weekend in college football. Don't move, Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Stream the NFL on Westwood One for free. Sponsored by AutoZone all season long. You can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports, or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. What a tricky weekend ahead, Maggie, for me. My family wants to go see the new Marvel movie, The Marvels, but tomorrow at noon, the big game, Penn State, Michigan, in Happy Valley. This is such an interesting game to me, Mag, for two reasons. One, I'm a lifelong Penn State fan, which you never believed. I am wearing the hat.
Since 2 weeks ago.
Okay, lifelong Penn State fan. Second of all, this is when the Michigan redemption tour begins. If they win this game, it sounds stupid, but they will start to put the scandal behind them because everyone knows they don't have the signs here, so they can actually affect the outcome of all of this by playing well.
I don't think that matters, to be honest. I don't think that, listen, you just saw Penn State lose to Ohio State in what was a close game. Nobody, I think few people believe that Penn State is going to be able to muster the type of explosive plays you might need to beat this Michigan team.
It's a 2.5 point spread.
No, I think it's up to 4.5 if I'm looking at DraftKings correctly here. Yeah, 4.5 Michigan favorite right now. So the money, I mean, you know what that means in gambling terms. That means the money poured in on Michigan. Okay. And I think that's an X's and O's, scenario. And maybe a little nobody believes in us. Like Michigan, I'm not saying this is the reason the spread moved, but they did bring in like Ric Flair to kind of double down on the villain heel turn aspect. I think they can galvanize. And I think this is more just about Penn State. I know we have a lot of Penn State listeners. We're on in that area of the country. But I think even the most diehard Penn State fan would say, do we have an offense that even if our defense plays amazing, and Penn State's defense has that ability, is our offense going to be good enough to take out a team who, so far has been keeping other opposing teams out of the red zone? Like there's no one's even had a goal to go situation against Michigan's defense. And I know that's been Little Sisters of the Poor a little bit, but
yeah.
How is Penn State going to score on this team is what I want to know.
I hear you, but honestly, the whole game is going to be up to scandal. I think it's going to be even hard to pay attention to football. Hey, last segment we were talking about my worst fear is sharks and being a Siamese twin. I think people relate to this. Why don't we go to the phone lines? Let's talk to Andy. What do you think? You have the same fears?
Well, I really don't think you can actually catch Siamese, right? So it's not like you can get a disease or something. But I was thinking, you've got that fear of being eaten by a shark. You might be able to combine that with the Siamese if you only get halfway eaten by a shark. And that same day, another person gets halfway eaten by a shark. Only way they can save you is to sew you together.
It's amazing.
This is the
Man.
movie. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, this
Andy.
is the movie that needs to be made, Maggie.
That is unbelievable. Think about the brain you have to possess to be able to find any kind of common ground between Perloff's two biggest fears, one being eaten by a shark and two somehow waking up to be a Siamese twin.
Andy's definitely writing Sharknado 15 right now.
Right, and by the way, the actors' strike and the writers' strike are now over. Somebody just heard that and greenlit the project.
Wait, Perloff, would you become a Siamese twin if it meant saving your life?
No, I'd rather die.
Oh, my gosh.
Definitely. Not even close. All right, coming up next, the Bears have possibly the best problem in the NFL right here at Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She can run the 40 faster than Tom Brady. He got a perfect score on the Wonderlic. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
We're back here on Maggie and Perloff. Last night's football game was technically an NFL game, Maggie. I'm here in New York. Maggie's upstate, if you're watching on CBS Sports Radio YouTube channel. Maggie is not being held hostage. She's fine. She's just in a Binghamton hotel room. But
you keep saying upstate, people are going to think I'm now incarcerated.
Yeah, she's in Attica.
People around the country might not know it's just referred to as upstate New York.
Yeah, she's gone upstate. Yeah,
I mean, busted.
Honestly, I felt like we were punished last night to have to watch that Bears-Panthers game. Oddly, the entire narrative was about the Panthers. They barely talked about the Chicago Bears. But one thing I did notice, the cameras were catching a lot of Justin Fields on the sideline, looking happy, smiling. There's a video of him dancing in the locker room afterwards, which is interesting. Because Justin Fields, former number 11 overall pick, he's in his third season. The Bears have a very interesting choice ahead. He'll probably come back. They have the mini bye with the Thursday night game. So they play Detroit on the 19th. He'll be back for that game. Is it possible that Justin Fields is the quarterback of the future at Chicago? Or they'll have the number one pick because they have Carolina's pick, or maybe their own pick. They could easily draft a quarterback. This is either the best problem to have in the NFL or the trickiest problem to have in the NFL. Where do you think the Bears are headed, Maggie?
Okay, so right now, if the season ended today, they would have the number one pick because Carolina is that bad. They're awful, and I don't see Carolina getting a lot better, quite frankly. So this is, and the fact that Kyler Murray's coming back for the Cardinals, like there's all these things that are kind of setting up to potentially gift wrap the Bears the number one overall pick. And listen, I think there's definitely a discussion here, right? If Justin Fields plays well the rest of the season, do the powers that be in Chicago say, listen, we have a potential generational talent coming out of college. We could hold this pick hostage, and we could set up our franchise for the next 2 decades if we play our cards right? We can get all-time left tackle maybe, Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, you could get first-round picks for half a decade. You could get players that you want. Like, you're going to be in the driver's seat asking and demanding anything for that number one overall pick. But I think, generally, NFL front offices do have rabbit ears. I think they do care what the media and fans say about them. I think owners definitely do. And I think they're too scared to pass on someone like Caleb Williams because just the fear that you could always be the team that passed on Caleb Williams. And the indignity of that would, even no matter what you do with the draft picks that you get and the players and the trade you might make, the indignity if Caleb Williams becomes the next insert name, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, whoever you want to compare him to, that would be too much for a front office to live down.
Okay, what if Justin Fields got traded and was a better quarterback than Caleb Williams? And I know it doesn't look like it now, but look at Justin Fields' last 2 games before he got hurt. 8 touchdowns, 1 pick. They blew out the Commanders on Thursday Night Football. the way that Justin Fields looked last night, it looks like the team is ready to just go out there and play for him. I think they have an incredibly easy schedule. It's going to be a lot more complicated than I think you're making it out to be. Justin Fields could present a real challenge to this program. I know they'd have to pay him, but if they have the number one pick, maybe the calculus is a little different. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think the Panthers, all they have to do is win one more game, and then the Giants get that pick. I think that the Bears are going to really look at Fields the rest of the season. So if they don't win, first of all, Eberflus is gone. GM Ryan Poles is reportedly in some danger as well. I think Fields is doing a tryout here. And if Justin Fields is playing well in Chicago, can you imagine the Bears finally have a quarterback and then just move on from him again? They've been waiting for 30 years for a quarterback, and there's a chance that Justin Fields is that guy.
I know, but if it's for the possibility of Caleb Williams, I think fans were savvier now than we have been. I think they would understand. Now, listen, if Fields plays really well, you might be able to have your cake and eat it too. Because, again, it's not your draft pick here. It's the Panthers who you really need to stink. It's not you. So maybe you could have your cake and eat it too, where Justin Fields plays well enough that you can trade him and get some assets. Not as much as if you traded the number one overall pick, of course, but you trade Fields, you might get some assets. He's still on a rookie deal, and then you draft Caleb Williams anyway. But I'm telling you, this is not a logic-based decision. This is a fear-based decision, and I feel like we see GMs and presidents make this kind of stuff, these calculations all the time. Like will I be vilified? Will I be fired? Will I be X, Y, and Z if I miss on this player? And if I decided to eschew it, even if it might be actually the more prudent move and could set up your franchise for more success by trading the pick.
But it's also hard to move on from a young quarterback. What if Justin Fields just absolutely kills it? It's going to be really hard. In real world, it's such a tricky situation because it's the Panthers who are stinking. But if he goes on a run, if he wins his last 4 games in Chicago of all places, and they don't keep him, that's also a risk. I think you're discounting what a risk it would be to move on from Justin Fields, who isn't exactly chop-livered. The guy was the number one recruit. He was a superstar in high school, a superstar in college. And I think the only reason he's been bad, honestly, is because he's been in Chicago. And that is where quarterbacks go to die. Plus, Caleb Williams, do we know for sure that he's going to accept going to Chicago? He might say, oh, you're getting rid of Justin Fields now? I don't want to go there. And you know that his dad has already said we're going to look at the teams at the top of the draft before we make a decision. I just think that it's easier said than done. Yes, of course, there is logic to drafting Caleb Williams. He's an all-time prospect. If Justin Fields gets hot, I just think the way teams think, they're not going to get rid of him. Kind of like the Giants with Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones won a bunch of games at the end of the season. If you win 4 games with a quarterback out of your last 5, it is so hard to move on from him.
No, I get it, but if the Giants were sitting there with the number one overall pick because it had been gifted to them, I think they definitely would have drafted a quarterback.
Last year? Are you sure after they got in the playoffs, do you think they would have moved on from Jones?
I mean, they basically gave Daniel Jones a 2-year deal. It's it's a lot of money. It's like $45 million per year, but they didn't really tie their future to him. So I think they would have drafted a quarterback. But I mean, this is interesting. Like Caleb Williams, would he pull a John Elway or an Eli Manning and not want to go to that prospective city? I feel like we hear a little more like smoke around this stuff than actually guys who are able to pull it off. First of all, most number one overall picks I don't think have the power to pull this off. But 2, you look at Joe Burrow. I mean, right before Burrow was drafted by the Bengals, it was Carson Palmer. It was others saying, listen, I don't know if you want to tie yourself to this kind of organization. And look at what he did. He completely changed the outlook, the vibe, the reputation of the Cincinnati Bengals because he's been that good. Why wouldn't Caleb Williams feel like he could do the same thing?
Very, very different situations. First of all, Joe Burrow's from Ohio, so Cincinnati it was attractive in some senses. Caleb Williams came up completely differently than Joe Burrow. Caleb Williams has been, I don't want to say engineered, but his dad has been thinking about making him the number one overall pick for a long time. It feels like a much more interventionist family, kind of like the Mannings, right. Kind of like John Elway's family back in '83. I just think that Caleb Williams and whoever his people are, it sounds like it's his immediate family, are much more cautious. And they've been thinking about, how do we make my son successful in the NFL? I think he could be fine in Chicago, and I think he'd be smart to go to Chicago if that's what ended up happening. But he might look at that and say, you know what? No quarterback's ever succeeded there. I'd rather go to New York. I'd rather go to New England. I'd rather this that sounds kind of dire. I'd rather go, give me a team here. Help me out, Maggie. Maybe
he's
Arizona.
From Washington, D.C., so
the
we're talking
Commanders.
hometown. Would he want to go to the Commanders? I don't know about that.
Yeah, no. Well, the Commanders have new ownership. Maybe they package him with an offensive coach because it seems like Rivera will be gone. Maybe they bring Lincoln Riley with him, too. I think people laughed at me when I brought that up earlier, but that could be a package deal because nobody at USC wants Lincoln Riley anymore, it seems. So,
you think that Lincoln Riley's going to succeed in the NFL? I would love to make a bet about that.
Well, the NFL hired Cliff Kingsbury, and he wasn't great, but he made the playoffs. I think why would Lincoln Riley not be good in the NFL? He can run an offense, give the defense to someone else.
I see that as the next NFL failure of bringing Lincoln Riley and thinking that he is going to all of a sudden like become the next Pete Carroll or something, like a college coach who can succeed in the NFL.
Well, we'll see. Regardless, I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves with Lincoln Riley.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, okay, put yourself in Caleb Williams' shoes. Say Justin Fields has a great end of the season. Is he really going to want to go there? He's going to say, like, listen, they just let Fields go. Why would I want to go to this team? It's where quarterbacks go to die.
Okay, but the world is very different than it was. And when did Eli Manning come out? 2003? 2004?
4, I think.
It is a very different world now. Like, there's a lot more noise out there, a lot more. It was awkward when Eli was doing it, and he had the cover of his brother being an all-time great quarterback and his dad being an all-time great quarterback. Like, it's a lot to put you're asking to bring a lot of heat on yourself to try to orchestrate getting yourself out of the number 1 overall pick. Nothing that Eli or John Elway had to deal with in terms of how big of a story this would be. It'd be all-consuming. And then I think the second part is and you're right, I think that Caleb Williams has been groomed to become the number 1 overall pick for most of his football playing life. If you want your kid to be the number 1 overall pick, he's not going to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's not going to go to a team that's ready to win. He's not going to the Eagles. He's going to go to a bad team most likely. So if that's your goal, then you have to know what you signed up for.
But there's another big difference between 2004 NIL. I mean, I turn on the TV on Saturday and it's Caleb Williams is everywhere. He's with Beats, he's with Dr. Pepper, he's with Wendy's, he was with AT&T.
You think he'd go back to school?
Well, that's what they're threatening. But at least he has that leverage. He probably, I'm assuming he made $5 million this year. That's a lot of money. He's already a rich man. I think it gives him more leverage than normal situation. Eli, the guys who've foregone the drafts have always been rich. Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, Eli Manning, all had NFL fathers who were quarterbacks. I think that Caleb's got a lot of money. Yeah, I think that helps a little bit. Yeah, he could go back. I don't think he's going back to USC. I don't know where. This has been a disaster this year. But I do think if it was a really terrible situation, he could say, I'm not going to the draft. He'll definitely hint that, Maggie. Watch. There'll be a leak report somewhere. Caleb Williams is considering going back, and then Chicago will have to trade off that. Something like that could happen.
Well, there was also the leak report that he wanted ownership stake in the NFL franchise he's going to, and that's just such a bunch of BS because that's impossible to happen because of salary cap violations and things like that. So not all things floated out about Caleb Williams have any merit whatsoever.
Yeah, but he's got some leverage, much more than anyone did before. I think Shedeur will go back because he can make $10 million next year. I do think that it's a different ballgame for college players now.
That's true. I mean, Shedeur's going back because you get the sense that Deion's still calling the shots in that young man's life, and you can understand. And Deion doesn't want to know what life is like after Shedeur now, and I understand why.
I meant Shedeur Sanders, Colorado quarterback. Is Shedeur at the point where you can just call him Shedeur, like Deion, and people will know? Because there are no other Shedeurs that I know. So I think
he's one-name status.
He is one-name status, right? And he sort of plays like a one-name status guy. He's got a lot of swag.
Yeah, listen, for our purposes, yes, he's reached one-name status.
Yeah,
I don't know who else is out there.
So I do think that players are going to threaten this. You're going to hear it. And I think there will be a quarterback who's going to say, I'm going to go back. I don't know if it's Caleb Williams, but he's already hinted it. His family seems very particular about where he goes. Chicago wins 4 of their last 5, and Justin Fields puts up great stats. I think that it's a much more complicated issue than you have a great point. You don't want to be the GM who skipped on Caleb Williams, but I think it's really hard for teams to let a player like that go. I think that's why the Giants got stuck with Daniel Jones. You see a quarterback win games, it's kind of hard to let him go.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. You're welcome to weigh in. If you're the GM, would you stick with the incumbent, or would you be too scared to potentially pass on Caleb Williams or a quote-unquote generational quarterback? We have a lot of generational quarterbacks these days. EJ's
come
got
on.
results.
That's a dig.
Yes.
What do you mean we have a lot? How many Caleb Williams do we have? We had Trevor Lawrence and Caleb Williams.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a lot.
We're in the same generation. They can't both be generational.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
EJ's got poll results. We've been talking about NFL MVP conversation. EJ, what do you have?
So we asked the question, who is most worthy of the NFL MVP award this season? We have the options were Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts. So at 18%, we had Joe Burrow. At 55%, we had Lamar Jackson. At 11%, we had Patrick Mahomes. And at 14%, we had Jalen Hurts. So Lamar Jackson really crushing it in this poll so
Why
far.
did you put the poll that I said? Who will win the MVP? I don't care who's most worthy. Who will win the MVP?
Well, that's what we talked about it on the air. We said
I know,
who's
and you
most
massaged the poll wording to say who's most worthy. I understand Lamar is worthy, but I don't think he's going to win it because voters are not going to want to give it to him twice.
I don't think that's going to make a difference. I don't think people are going to say, he's worthy, but he's not going to win it. I don't think that changes the poll results at all.
Okay, we'll see, because I'm about to put in my own poll here and not your biased wording there, and we'll see what happens.
Biased wording. I literally talked about it.
Who is most worthy? That sounds a little shady to me, EJ. The debate was who will win this. The draft book odds aren't who's the most worthy. It's who's going to win the MVP. DraftKings odds.
I don't think that makes a difference. I'm being real. Like,
Perloff is like gerrymandering poll results. Like,
what are you talking about?
It is amazing. You are the dirty tricks, Richard Nixon campaign of poll people.
Well, I mean, there's a reason Lamar Jackson, I think the odds are lower on him for exactly what I'm saying.
Perloff's like evil Steve Kornacki.
Yes. Evil, yes.
Okay, we'll see if it's the same results if I put up the question, who will win NFL MVP?
I want to see.
No,
I think
you
Lamar
can't,
Jackson will crush that too.
I already did it, Maggie. It's too late. You can't stop me. You're in Binghamton, New York.
This is why Perloff's gerrymandering, because half of his feed is Eagles fans, and they're all going to vote for Jalen Hurts.
That's absolutely not true.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. We still have picks to make for this weekend. We still have superlatives that we have to give out. So much to do. Do not move. Maggie, Perloff, you on this Friday on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Let's take a look at who's got home field advantage this weekend in our NCAA football preview, sponsored by Fairfield by Marriott. Fairfield by Marriott is the official hotel partner of the NCAA. With over 1,000 locations around the country, you'll always have the home field advantage. Visit fairfield.marriott.com to book your stay. Obviously, I think the marquee matchup this weekend is Michigan at Penn State. Still, Maggie, 4.5 points. Expecting a close game. I said this when Penn State played Ohio State. A couple calls go a different way. That game could have gone anyway. I think if Penn State makes it super ugly, then they have a chance here. And then I'm going to come in wearing full Penn State gear on Monday morning.
Yes, your team, Penn State. Your team's every team. Perloff's the number one bandwagon joiner of all time. But, I'm going to disagree. We briefly touched on this about whether or not Michigan, by winning and beating Penn State, takes any of the heat off them on this scandal. I don't think so. I think the damage is done here. And when you have a coach like Britt Bielema, maybe we can play that sound again, Britt Bielema from Illinois, who lost a really close game against Michigan last year. The final score, I believe, was 19-17. He had some strong words for this cheating scandal, about this cheating scandal.
If something was going on off campus, like it's been noted, right, that they were at our games before we played that game last year, that opens up a whole, that's sickening. It's disgusting, right? But I'll let them figure that part out. And I think as coaches, we just got to hold the integrity of the league. Just everybody's got to feel that everybody's playing by the same rules and kind of go forward from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the damage is kind of done. And whether, you look at the, record and the Big Ten record that Jim Harbaugh enjoyed from, 2015 to when the scandal supposedly started around 2021 and then what they've done from 2021 on, it's stark. They look like they are definitely got some advantage. Now, is it just the sign stealing? No, of course there's other factors that play in. Yep. Michigan has started recruiting a lot better. There's got a quarterback finally that's taken them to new heights. So that's not the only thing, but it could be a part of it.
Well, I think the counter argument on that is Michigan has had loaded draft classes now the last 2 years, and they're really going to be loaded this year. They're going to put tons of players in the NFL. So if you judge a team by their quality, by how many NFL draft picks they have, Michigan is right there. I think if they win, everyone knows that they don't have Penn State signs for this game. Or if they do, Penn State has changed them. So there's no sign stealing. There's nothing attached to this. I think they can prove they're a good team. All right, before we get to Andrew Bogus, it's midseason in the NFL. Week 10, we started last night with that slop fest in Chicago. Bears beat the Panthers. I think we should take a little bit look back here, Maggie, with a few superlatives of the NFL season. Why don't we go to EJ to throw them out, and you and I will weigh in on what we think is happening so far in the NFL.
Okay, so let's get started here. So let's start with biggest surprise NFL season so far.
Oh, I'll jump in first. It's got to be the Houston Texans. I know C.J. Stroud, number 2 pick, is a good quarterback, but DeMeco Ryans is coach of the year so easily. The fact that they could sneak into the playoffs, I didn't see it coming, and I did not see a lot of people saw it coming. I think that's an easy one. Who do you got, Maggie?
It's a great surprise. C.J. Stroud, awesome. And the Texans. My biggest surprise is that Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles on the 4th play of the season, and he says he's going to come back, and we're buying it. I mean, that's a massive, this would be such a difference maker in terms of how we think of sports injuries. Whether he could actually pull this off is wild. This is the biggest surprise, is that this has continued to be a story that he might come back in the same season he tore his Achilles. That's wild.
That's biggest fiction, maybe, but we'll see. Okay.
All right, so let's go to biggest disappointment of the NFL season so far.
Yeah, for me, the biggest disappointment has got to be the fact that the New England Patriots are dead last in the AFC, and we're talking about Bill Belichick being on the hot seat. I always thought Belichick was going to be able to name the time and place where he wanted to retire, and now that is not looking like the case. Who knows what will actually happen with the Patriots, but this total Patriots debacle is the biggest disappointment to me.
Well, okay, I'm going to borrow from you. The most disappointing team to me is the New York Jets, because I was right on that bandwagon with everyone else. With Aaron, and I think what you've seen play out this year proves that it's true. They could have won a lot of games with Aaron Rodgers. This was finally the year to get everything together. But that helmet, that Jets helmet, is just too strong of a negative influence and killed this storyline too. But to me, when I look at my preseason picks, I was really excited about the Jets. And even though I know they're still technically in the hunt, it's not happening.
Okay, let's go to another thing. We're talking about the Jets. You talk about offseason moves with Aaron Rodgers. That, of course, didn't work out. But what about best offseason move? What do you guys have here?
Okay. Can I go with a coach, please?
That fits. Yeah.
Okay. I know this goes contrary to what I said earlier about Lamar Jackson not being the MVP, but I have to give Baltimore credit for finally ripping the Band-Aid and modernizing their offense this year and hiring Todd Monken, former Georgia OC, a long time with the Bucs. The fact that they did a radical move here and they saw that Lamar Jackson could be more as a passer, even though the numbers have not really showed that yet, you could see it on the field. There's just been a lot of drops and other things. I think that was the smartest move of the offseason. I think a lot of us knew that it was going to be smart, but it really has paid off, I think, even more than we could have seen.
It's so funny, Perloff. I have the same team, but a different thing. I think the best offseason moves was finally paying Lamar Jackson. Now, it got so contentious. It was bad vibes. Nobody, the team, he eventually asked for a trade before they got back together. But I think this is going to end up looking brilliant for the Ravens. First of all, you had 2 quarterbacks right after blew his contract out of the water. So he was the highest paid quarterback for like 5 seconds, and he never got as much guaranteed money as Deshaun. And I think that Lamar healthy, and now you're seeing this new offense and what they're capable of. The best offseason move is everyone finally coming to their senses and getting that contract done.
A lot of love for the Ravens on this segment here. So let's also talk about worst offseason move.
Well, I'm going to stay in the division, and for me, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers not moving on from Matt Canada. Now, this could be a Kenny Pickett situation where maybe we've just seen the ceiling on Pickett. I'm not willing to go that far yet, but sometimes the fans are just right, and I think the fans are just right about this. Now, is this Matt Canada, or is this Mike Tomlin kind of saying, listen, this is how we want to win, we want to be super conservative? But I think this is going to end up biting Pittsburgh. They're going to wish they moved on, and I think they will move on after this season. They just delayed the inevitable by a year.
Okay. My worst offseason move, this guy, it's not really his fault, but Jimmy G going to Vegas, the entire Raiders mindset here that we can get rid of Derek Carr and go to Jimmy G and make something out of this team. Maybe I'm looking at the results now. That was a terrible idea. First of all, we all knew Jimmy G was going to get hurt. Obviously, they probably should have moved on from their coach before this season, but nothing has worked out worse. This was not the Jimmy G team, and they should have known that. Jimmy G can help when everything is in the right place. He can help you win football games. That was never going to happen with the Raiders. I think they were self-delusional, and we've seen the result.
That was a move that was first guessed, not even second guessed by the Raiders there. Okay, so last one we have here, looking at the second half of the season. Second half sleeper. Who do you guys have?
Am I up? Okay, second half sleeper. This team shouldn't be a sleeper because they're always talented. I think the LA Chargers make another playoff run. I don't know what it means, Maggie, big picture, but they've shown they can play tough teams very close. They have a very easy schedule. The mistakes they make seem so fixable all the time. I know we call it chargering, but talent-wise, obviously they're a playoff caliber team, and the schedule happens to work out this way because the AFC North teams are going to all beat each other up. The Chargers have a clear avenue to sneak back into the playoffs.
Man, I thought you would go for sure with the Bengals. I mean, can the Bengals even count as a sleeper? They've won 4 in a row. Does that not count, even though they're not in first place?
They just blew out the Niners in San Francisco.
Back-to-back AFC championship appearances.
Yeah. I mean, are the Chiefs a sleeper to you, too, because they don't have Tyreek Hill? Is that your choice?
No, well, it would have been, but maybe you guys are telling me that's going to be too easy. Okay, I'll give you my sleeper team, and this is mostly because I don't have a lot of faith in a lot of NFC teams. How about the Washington Commanders could be a sleeper team? Now, I'm just like, you want to talk about the nerd websites and all of that. The nerds love Sam Howell.
Love him.
The nerds will tell you that Sam Howell's putting up like the same stats as like some of the best quarterbacks in the league. So I know they just traded away 2 of their best pieces on defense, but they also could afford to trade those pieces away because they still have all these first-round picks on their defense. So I think maybe you're seeing Commanders. I don't know what that means to Ron Rivera, but how about Commanders as a second-half sleeper?
I love it. I have alerts to my phone that compare Sam Howell and Patrick Mahomes' stats every day, every hour. When someone does it, bing on my phone.
What are these apps are you on? You got notifications on Sam Howell?
Oh, yeah.
You texting with Eric Bieniemy?
Pull up the stats. Mahomes, Howell, same.
Oh my gosh! I need to figure out what apps you're on. That's crazy.
That's when the numbers tell the story or the numbers don't tell the story. Since Sam Howell has the same numbers as Patrick Mahomes, that's when they're misleading.
All right,
those are your NFL superlatives.
Love it. Andrew Bogus is in the house. Andrew Kaplan, the brilliant mind behind our social media, did a graphic. Maggie, I don't know if you saw it yet. It's from the movie Stuck on You, where Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear play conjoined twins who are trying to figure out a life together, except it's me and Bogus, and there's a shark in the graphic too, because a caller, Andy in Pennsylvania, said that the plot of the Andrew Perloff horror movie could be that a shark eats half my body, and to save my life, I have to be conjoined with another person and live out the rest of my life with another person. And as someone who values alone time, this would be my worst nightmare.
Well, it's because you said your first biggest fear is getting eaten by a shark, and your second biggest fear is being a Siamese twin.
Yeah.
But you're not a Siamese twin, and you're never going to be a conjoined twin. That's never going to happen to you.
Well, the shark scenario, you never know what's going to happen in the ocean.
What if you were conjoined with a shark?
Oh. Now... is this some sort of sci-fi movie?
I mean, now we're in that realm where the shark is the other half.
Which part is me and which part is the shark?
Well, it's not like a merman thing where it's top and bottom. It's just you slowly, like your right arm meshes into its left fin.
Because I would be interested in being an apex predator. That'd be attractive
Randy
to me.
Orton.
yeah. Land shark. Can I breathe in the air? Or do I have to be in the water?
No, we'll give you. You can be. Is that amphibious? You can be on the land or in the water.
You're Aquaman.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Should we write this screenplay? I mean, why not? The way the Hollywood is right now, we could probably sell
They're
this,
making
guys.
35 Sharknadoes. I promise one of these scripts we've come up with can be one of them.
This has Sandler and Rob Schneider written all over it too.
Man Shark?
So Shark Man, either way.
Shark Man, Man Shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, Man Shark 2, starring Kevin James.
I love you've already fast forwarded to the sequel.
Yeah,
You're
I
gonna
just
be
had this
so
image
rich.
of the Kevin James meme where he's got his shoulders hunched over with a fin coming out of his head. Man Shark 2.
Produced by your good friend, Adam Sandler.
Of course.
Straight to Netflix. Dan Patrick cameo. We're done.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
That's the formula. We just did it.
Yes. Dan Patrick is the aquarium gatekeeper or something. Put a mustache on Dan, he can play any role in the world.
He's the shark trainer that becomes the other half of you.
Oh, no, Dan would not want that.
No?
Dan likes to play these random roles in Adam Sandler. He's been a janitor. He was a principal. He was a water slide attendant. And he's actually, I know this is going to sound like I'm kissing my former boss's butt. He's brilliant in 1 minute Sandler cameos. It's crazy. He is actually a really funny actor. I am not. So I'm not going to be in Man Shark.
All right. As for sports, we are now expecting a response by early afternoon from the Big Ten to Michigan's response to being informed of potential sportsmanship policy violations connected to Connor Stallions. You'll remember that the Wolverines' 10-page letter midweek cautioned the conference against acting too swiftly and harshly here. Michigan leaves for Penn State around 1 Eastern today. On the field last night, number 11 Louisville needed 17 fourth-quarter points to beat Virginia 31-24. Cavaliers running back Paris Jones took a helmet-to-helmet hit left on a stretcher in the third quarter. The team said overnight he had regained movement in all extremities, was staying in the hospital for observation. Thursday Night Football saw the Bears hold off the Panthers 16-13 for their third win of the season. It's number 2 with Tyson Bagent under center, but Justin Fields should be back from his thumb injury next weekend. Head coach Matt Eberflus on his current starting QB.
What was really good today was that, he's always done a really good job avoiding sacks, throughout the course of the 4 games that he's played. But what he did well today was he didn't put the ball in harm's way and gave us a chance to win.
The Bears offense producing a Deontay Foreman touchdown run and 3 field goals. The defense sacked Bryce Young 3 times, kept his squad out of the end zone. Back to Eberflus. Perloff, you were not the only person wondering what the head coach meant when he promised a surprise during his halftime interview.
Did we see what was up your sleeve? Did you use it? Or
I don't know. What's up yours?
You got me there.
Yeah, that wasn't funny. And there was a lot of laughing there. That wasn't funny.
Man, we are the worst because if you win a game, all of a sudden you can just say the dumbest thing ever. And it's like, and everyone's going to laugh because you beat the Congrats. You beat the Carolina Panthers at home 16-13.
Right. And now you're Kevin James.
And now you're the funniest guy in the room.
Now you're the star of Man Shark 3. He's an odd dude. His in-game interviews were just strange. He seemed super happy to do the in-game interview, which already was a red flag for me.
He knows this is the last time he's going to be doing primetime games as a head coach, probably.
Milk it. And maybe they'll let him on the Amazon panel. He can be the 15th person to sit up there in the halftime show. But, I mean, this guy, remember just yesterday we were playing the clip from his press conference where he said that Justin Fields was not medically cleared, yet questionable, yet not playing, all in the same 15-second clip.
Yeah.
He's not medically cleared to go right now, and he's getting better, though. I mean, he's accuracy's improving, he's throwing it better, and he's starting to do more and more and more. So we'll see where it goes. And right now we're listing him as doubtful, and we'll see where it goes from there.
If he's not medically cleared, well, how come doubtful versus out?
Yeah, just to see. We got to give him one more day. But he's working hard, and it's getting better every day. So we'll see where it goes.
He's not playing tomorrow.
Yeah, he's not playing.
Same clip.
When you waffle on your quarterback, it's Eberflusing. from now on. Chargering and Eberflusing.
2 games ago, Giannis got tossed, and head coach Adrian Griffin said he needed to do better protecting his best players. So last night at Indy, Griffin yelled at the refs instead and got the boot instead.
I thought that, it was really physical, and I thought Giannis was getting hit quite a bit. And, I voiced my opinion, and next time I'll do it in a little bit more delicate way.
Allowed to play the whole game, Giannis scored an NBA season-high 54 points, but committed 2 late turnovers. The Pacers won 126-124. Trae Young scored 41. DeJounte Murray knocked down the winning 3 with 31 seconds left. Their Hawks topped the Magic 120-119 in Mexico City. Men's college hoops, number 21 USC took care of Cal State Bakersfield 85-59, and number 23 St. Mary's down New Mexico 72-58. Aiden Mahaney scoring 25 in that one. Caitlin Clark had 44 as number 3 Iowa beat number 8 Virginia Tech 80-76 in Charlotte. The Texas Rangers continued their post-World Series haul with Corey Seager and Marcus Semien collecting silver sluggers yesterday. Number 3 for Seager, the second of the career for Semien. Shohei Ohtani, Orioles rookie catcher Adley Rutschman, Ronald Acuna Jr., Juan Soto among the other winners. In hockey last night, our San Jose Sharks now on a win streak, back-to-back W's baby, after losing their first 11 games of the season, 3-2 over the Oilers last night. Guys, back to you.
Wow.
Bogish, thank you so much. I know. Our Sharks.
No more tanking at the Shark Tank.
Ever since we adopted them as our team 2 days ago, they've been really on a roll.
And you're okay with these Sharks, Perloff, just to be sure?
These Sharks are my favorite team.
Okay.
Joe Thornton.
The other guys.
We got to learn some guys on the team now.
This is going to be everything we put our effort towards now, all the positive vibes going towards the San Jose Sharks. What could go wrong? We have picks. Thank you, Bogish. We have NFL picks, Maggie and Perloff style. That comes your way next. Don't move. We're back in a flash on Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We're back here on Maggie and Perloff. Week 10, a very interesting week. A lot of weird spreads. In a moment, we're going to try and make our picks. Of course, last night, basically, the game was on the spread. Bears, Panthers, 16-13. The crazy amount of unders, that trend continues this year. So we're going to make our picks in a minute. Maggie, am I allowed to say already I hate my picks? Because it's just one of those weeks. Why do they do this to us? They're torturing us with these spreads.
Well, I mean, you've got a little bit of breathing room, at least. Perloff's record, 16-11 on the season. I'm 12. Let's see. I am 12-15, right? Does that add up? Yes. So you are in command here. You are in the lead, and you have a little wiggle room to play with, even if you don't like your picks. So how we do this on Maggie and Perloff, 1 over/under, 1 against the spread, 1 player prop. We try to spread some things around a little bit. Let's hit it.
Maggie and Perloff's NFL picks.
Why'd you kick us off, Maggie?
Okay. Well, I've been terrible this year, so just know that going in, and I'm probably going to continue to make mad picks. But give me the Washington Commanders plus the 6.5 on the road in Seattle. Now, Seattle's still a tough place to play, I believe. But I'm not loving what I'm seeing from the Seahawks right now. And I'm a big fan of theirs, and I've bet a lot on them. But I know Washington just traded away. Again, they traded away 2 of their top defensive pass rushers. At the same time, they still have a decent pass rush because they had those guys to trade. Washington, the plus 6.5 just feels a little juicy to me. That's what I'm going to take.
Okay, I do like that a lot. I am going to actually go... This spread confuses me, and therefore I'm nervous about it. Steelers are 3-point favorites over the Packers in Pittsburgh. So if you think you adjust, especially a home field like Pittsburgh, 3 points for the spread, people really see my Super Bowl pick, the Steelers, and the Green Bay Packers as the same team. Obviously, they're both famously incredibly bad in the first half. They don't score at all in the first half. I wonder if they find a way to adjust off that. I think it's going to be a messy game. I wish it was under 3 points, but I'm going to take the Steelers -3.
It's funny. That's where I went for my over-under pick.
Okay.
Because I agree with you. I think it's going to be, none of these offenses are really scaring the daylights out of the league. 38.5 is where the total sits, and that's why I am going to go under. both of these offenses bad in the first half, and I hope they're not going to be able to make up that ground in the second half. So under 38.5 Steelers-Packers.
Okay, it's funny. I also looked at the over-under on that game, but obviously I mentioned unders are hitting like crazy. If you look at unders, what's the one game that stands out to you where both quarterbacks are big question marks? I mean, come on. Jets, under, please. The Jets at Las Vegas set at 37, which is extremely low. It's not low enough for me. I'm going under here, betting against Zach Wilson. I mean, the Raiders' defense stinks, but this is really more about Zach Wilson. I heard an interesting trend. Last year, Zach Wilson got worse and worse as the season went on. Get a little film on him. Now, I don't know if anyone in the Raiders is actually watching film, but I think they're fired up with Antonio Pierce.
They're smoking backwoods right now.
I feel pretty good about under 37 for Raiders-Jets.
Not a bad one. And finally, for my player prop, I go to one of the games of the weekend, and that's Cleveland at Baltimore. Give me Lamar Jackson, 41.5 rushing yards. I know we've all been propping up, and talking about this pass offense and how it's been a lot better. I think when a defense like Cleveland's going to come to town, and I know they have a good defensive front, but I think they could get Lamar holding onto the ball a little bit more in the secondary. He's gotten the ball out quickly, so maybe I'll be totally wrong on this. But if a close game, I think this is a big game, and I think Lamar would take matters into his own hands. So I'll take over 41.5 rushing yards for Lamar.
That is so weird. I mean, we're both wearing purple. We both now think alike because I have a quarterback rushing prop too. And mine is a similar reason. Brock Purdy set at 8.5 yards. This is a must-win situation for the Niners, and that means Brock Purdy's got to sell out against the Jaguars, who's actually a very good defense. I think Brock Purdy's got to lay it all out on the line, forget his health. He knows he can't throw those interceptions. I think he's going to run a lot, and I was actually surprised it was that low. It makes me nervous again. But I think Brock Purdy plays a full-on desperate game, and I'm going over 8.5 rushing yards for the 49ers quarterback.
Okay, so just to recap, I'm taking the Washington Commanders plus 6.5 on the road against Seattle. I'm taking the under in Pittsburgh and Green Bay at 38.5, and I'm taking Lamar Jackson rushing yards over 41.5.
Okay, I'm going Steelers -3 against the Packers, Raiders, Jets under 37 in Vegas, and Brock Purdy over 8.5 rushing yards.
Okay, before we get to our shot of the day, I mean, none of us, we didn't have the stones to take Dallas Cowboys laying 17 against the New York Giants.
Well, it's unbelievable. That has a good chance
of
hitting.
They won 40-0 last time.
The passing total for Tommy DeVito, I think it's 157 yards. Now, I was really tempted to take that because they're going to be getting killed. Tommy DeVito's probably going to hit that number. But I'm not sure Tommy DeVito will last the game in this situation. Kind of like Jaron Hall in Minnesota. You want to bet on a quarterback who really has no right to be out there for 60 minutes.
I know, but who do they go to after the Wildcat with Saquon Barkley? There's no one left. Matt Barkley, I guess, is the backup now.
Matt Barkley, yeah. Matt Barkley pulls the Josh Dobbs Batman, comes in. I mean, somebody... Honestly, I think Tommy DeVito is a good bet, but I don't want to be sitting there on Sunday waiting for this quarterback to throw against Dallas of all teams. So that's a stay away. That's going to be hard to watch.
Thanks, guys.
What, you're a Giants fan, Manny?
Big time.
Manny, you should know more than all of us. Let's get to our shot of the day.
He shoots! He scores!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. Got a lot of football. Make it a Casamigos weekend. I know I am. Shot of the day, little snapshot of the show, is earlier we found out Perloff's second biggest fear, and it's odd.
My worst fear in life is getting eaten by a shark. My second worst fear...
Is me?
No, is being a Siamese twin. I would never want to do that. The lack of privacy.
That's your second fear?
I see movies about Siamese twins, or my daughters will show me a TikTok, and it freaks me out. Just to not have any private time or private thoughts is terrifying to me.
But you can't become one now, right?
Well, this is what the audience wants.
You've dodged that fear. Move on.
Can we just all pause on the visual of Perloff being a Siamese twin where the brother gets married and on the wedding night
that's great
they're
journalism.
Consummating the marriage and Perloff is like reading a Sports Illustrated with a flashlight.
That's not good.
I can't even say the words.
You guys aren't scared of being Siamese twins? It's never crossed your mind?
It would never happen to me. I'd never have to think about it.
Yeah.
Now hearing it, Perloff, do you realize how crazy it sounds that you'd be scared of being a conjoined twin when you're lived your life as not a conjoined twin?
No, and I apologize if we offended. It is a real birth situation that happens, and luckily medicine is advanced to help people. But I don't even want to be around my wife 24 hours a day. People, I just need I need alone time to recharge. Aren't you guys like that as well?
Yeah, but in theory, the other person is also recharging. You know?
No. I mean, aren't you partying it up in Binghamton in this hotel room? Aren't you so happy to be away from your family in that gray, dark hotel room?
Well, my family's going to be here in a little bit. So, no, my family's going to brighten this whole thing up. Speaking of other weird bets, we told you that the Dallas Cowboys are 17-point favorite over the Giants this weekend. I know we don't do a lot of college betting here, but the Rutgers-Iowa over-under has been set at 28.
Yeah, I'm going under confidently. By the way, I'm going to call it right now. Penn State comes with a W this week, and then Michigan beats Ohio State. It's all going to happen, Maggie.
Crazy. Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you to Manny Rodriguez. Thank you to Andrew Kaplan, Andrew Bogish, to the wireless up here in Binghamton that did not crap out. Guido's Coffee Drinkers. See you Monday.